Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing this fine day? Hello, hello, hello. We're doing an open mic. Been a hot minute since we did the last one. Work's been keeping me busy. Yes, your favorite host is here. The sub 80 IQ Disgenoid. Was there another part of that title that I needed to get? No, the sub 80 IQ Disgenoid, right? Your favorite sub 80 IQ Disgenoid is here to welcome you all to a fine show. We're all going to have, hopefully, some productive and fun conversations about the state of the gaming industry as a whole. We're obviously talking video games, and in relation to that, the Space Marine leaks, which I know was a while ago, but today I really want to give the community a voice of hey, if you've seen the leaks, how did that affect you? Did you, in fact, get some confidence from those leaks and are now more interested in getting the game? Maybe not pre-ordering it, but getting the game, whereas you didn't really have any hope before, or did they in fact affirm your concerns and you're not interested? There's going to be lots of conversation, hopefully, today. We're not going to go super long, and I am going to put a time limit on the calls. That way, plenty of people get their chance to converse, get their chance to put their points out, and ask me questions about my thoughts, if they so choose. So, John Jones, welcome to the stream. How are you doing this same day? Yes. Is today Monday? Today's Monday, right? Yes, Monday. Okay, for a second I thought it was Tuesday for some reason. I was about to say, how are you doing this fine Tuesday? But I was like, doesn't sound right. We're starting off great. I don't know what day it is. Hell no, Nostalgia Vivek. How you doing, my man? I see you're in waiting call room too. Don't worry, we'll get to you very soon. We'll get to Trip first, of course. Before we do that, I'm going to give some time for people to kind of come into the stream. Before we get into it, like with most open mics, I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on the two topics technically today. It's one topic, but one with a more specific question around it, whereas the other one's more broad as to the whole industry. Welcome, Sujad. Welcome. I hope I said that correctly. If it's Sujad or Sujad, I apologize for any pronunciations. I'm not the best at them. Evening. How are you? Trip, how you doing? Of course. Benjamin Klaus, how are you, fine gentleman? Long time no see. Long time no see indeed. I believe you've been stuck in Helldivers. You know, democracy needs defending, my man, but we also need to take a break from defending democracy at least once in a while. Can't defend it when you're not at your best, you know? Hello, Nox. Welcome to the stream. How are you? Yes, welcome, everybody. So, I'll give my thoughts real quick on the two topics today. Again, technically it's one, but I'll just say two. The two topics today. First, Junko says, I watched the leaked video. The game wasn't bad. I looked at the comments, and someone said there wasn't anything woke in the game. I actually have seen 1 hour of the game. So I've seen the first hour of the game's campaign. That is what I have seen. I cannot attest to the whole game, but for that 1 hour, nothing woke. The worst thing in that 1 hour is the game does... No, I won't spoil that. But I will say, without spoiling, the worst thing it does is there's Primaris involved. And the footage actually had me in hope at the beginning. I was like, oh. I'll put it like that, without spoiling specifics. Hey, Khan, you sexy German gentleman, how are you? I'm doing well today. So, to give my thoughts on the industry right now for gaming, and then give you my thoughts on the Space Marine leaks, which I kind of did just now, but to go into detail. In terms of the gaming industry right now, I was kind of hoping we'd start seeing an uptick, especially since, the Sweet Baby Inc. expose and stuff was what, I want to say 6 months ago now, but maybe it hasn't been that long, it just feels that long. But it was months and months ago, and I know a lot of, we're still going to get a lot of woke or woke adjacent games before we start seeing them get cleaned up of that nonsense, but I was kind of hoping that we'd start seeing that already kind of on the downturn, but maybe I was just a little too hopeful the reaction would be that swift. I don't know, but right now the games industry is not looking so hot. Things are looking rough. Things are looking rough in terms of future projects that have been announced. And what's actually gotten me even more kind of depressed is typically I'm thinking AAA right now is doomed. But I've been looking at AA and indie for my, my non-crappy games. And one of the games I was looking forward to was a game called Stormgate. Now, I did a live stream 2 days ago, 3 days ago, something like that, where I talked about that. I also talked about some other stuff, but that was a topic while I was playing Titan Quest. And I played that game for an hour and a half, and I got to try each of the factions out. I got to get the gameplay, get to the gameplay. And the problem with that game, though it does have DEI woke stuff in it, that wasn't even like the biggest problem. The biggest problem with Stormgate is it's an exact copy, and I know people are going to get really technical when I say exact, but what I mean is for the most part. I don't mean literally exact. But it's almost an exact copy of StarCraft 2, which, for those who don't know, the devs behind it, I think they're called Iceberg Studios or something like that, or Frost Giant Iceberg. Frost Giant Studios. They used to be the devs that worked on StarCraft 2. I think they were the B team, but they might not have been. I'm not sure. But they were a dev team within Blizzard that worked on StarCraft 2. They all quit because they no longer liked Activision Blizzard, or some of them just retired, I think. But then they decided to start their own studio. The whole idea of their studio was they were going to bring back RTSs in the vein of the Warcraft/StarCraft RTSs, but obviously of their own brands and their own copyrights. And when I started playing this game, I was thinking, oh, it's going to be in the same vein. And I always knew it was going to be in the same vein. I mean, obviously, they worked on those types of RTSs. Of course, they're going to replicate the same style. But I was expecting way more than I got. Like, the game... For me, the real problem with the game, with its copy and paste of StarCraft 2, is it was so blatant, but also it was so apathetic. And what I mean by apathetic is it felt so devoid of any kind of... You're looking extra ginger today, King. I'm glad it does. You know, I do like to flaunt my order, my firebush. I love to flaunt the firebush. But with that game, it was just... And also, lovely to see you, Nathan. Lovely to see you, Zoid. Undead Nerd, welcome. Metronid, earlier. How you doing? Wonderful, gentlemen. I'm surrounded. It's amazing. But yeah, the game was... Like, the lack of innovation, the lack of unique ideas... And also the really, like, cartoonified... And that's... Keep in mind, StarCraft 2, I already think, is kind of cartoony in its gameplay and its game aesthetic. But it still had a grittiness to it. It still had... Not grimdark, necessarily, but it had a grim, gritty aesthetic and vibe to it that it carried over from the first game. And I already thought StarCraft 2 kind of put that through a soft filter, where it kind of took a lot of the grittiest elements and siphoned those out for a little bit less grittiness. But it was still gritty. Stormgate is just StarCraft 2 put through that filter again, but then on top of it put through an Overwatch filter in terms of its cartoonification and aesthetic, and then also on top of it Bleach. And so not only is it just an apathetic, blatant copy and paste of StarCraft 2, but the aesthetic... One of the factions is demons, okay? Like, one of the factions, the Infernal Host, are demons. And they look cartoonish. Like, they look like you could put them on a book bag for a kid going to elementary school, and they wouldn't be banned, or that kid wouldn't get in trouble by the staff. Like, the teachers wouldn't talk to the kid and say, hey, that's inappropriate for school. No, they look like they'd be fine. There's nothing grim, gritty, dark, like, evil about them. They look fucking... pathetic. And that's gotten me on this kind of chain of thought right now, where my mindset is with the state of gaming is, even outside of the AAA industry, we're seeing way more games, like outside the wokeness, throw that aside, that's already a problem, but that's not even the main issue here. The main issue is the lack of innovation, the lack of new ideas, the apathetic game design, where they're just copy and pasting what they believe works or what they know to work. And then on top of it, with the aesthetic of games, they're just getting cartoonier and cartoonier and cartoonier. Of course, there are exceptions, especially in the indie part of the market. But with AA, it seems like they're looking at AAA, seeing their lack of success and thinking, let's do that for some reason. Like, it was super disappointing. So that's kind of where I'm at with the state of gaming, is I'm getting even more apathetic. Not even angry, apathetic. Because AA was where I was hoping we'd see a lot of good stuff. And I still have a little bit of hope with some projects. Like recently there was a teaser trailer for Darksiders I saw. I hope that's real, first of all, and I hope that it's Darksiders 4. Really, really hoping for that. That's a AA franchise I really fucking love. I think some people would argue it's AAA, but I'm pretty sure it's still AA. But it's getting more and more overbearing the lack of hope I have for the industry to really like bounce back. So that's where I'm at for that part. And as for the Space Marine leaks, I have a bit of a shorter answer personally for this one, and then we'll get into calls, of course. But for the Space Marine leaks, for the hour of footage I saw, and I have looked for more. I found a couple clips here and there, but I haven't found like what I was watching when the leaks were first happening. That first hour I saw, I will say, gameplay-wise, and in terms of the functionality of the game, it actually gave me a lot of confidence. Like, a lot of confidence. Because one of my biggest pillars of concern for Space Marine 2 was, will it function? Because I'm still burnt from Cyberpunk 2077 when that came out. I'm still burnt from No Man's Sky. I'm still burnt from that. I still am pissed about that. I know that they fixed it, but for me, like, I will not forget how it launched. Additionally, freaking, it just left my brain. The 40K team-based shooter. Why did that leak my brain? Like, I love it when that happens. Darktide, thank you. Darktide, like, I hated how that launched. And yes, I played that somewhat recently, and they fixed it up. But still, how it launched was terrible. It launched terrible. And it's really, like, been concerning lately how games from AAA and AA devs have been releasing games in a state of functionality that is completely unacceptable. Completely unacceptable, especially for the price tag they put on these games. $60, and now they're asking for $70 for AAA games. And then AA games are still asking for $40, $45. I think they're actually looking at going up to $50 for some of them. You're asking a lot of money up front for a game that might work, which is infuriating. So that for me was one of my biggest worries with Space Marine 2, is that, oh, this game is going to come out as a broken fucking mess. But those leaks I saw an hour of footage where that game didn't crash, it didn't stutter, there wasn't any major lag. The worst I saw was a visual bug. A visual bug where one of the reload animations for the bolt pistol, the guy, Titus throws aside the magazine, and as the character moved, the thrown aside magazine is floating off in the distance, moving in tandem with the gun. It didn't disappear. So that was the worst I saw, and there were no auditory bugs. That gave me a lot of confidence in at least that aspect, that it will come out functional. Unfortunately, that hour of footage wasn't enough for me to have confidence in the other areas of concern I have. One of those being that the story is going to be very preachy and woke. I don't think so. A lot of people have told me who've seen more than I have that it isn't woke. Like, the game is actually very loyal to 40K and stays within those confines, which gives me confidence. But I haven't seen that myself. So I'm still not going to get it day one. I'm still going to wait. But I will say I'm more inclined to get it after I've seen a review. Whereas before, I was very, very opposed. But those leaks, ironically, gave me a bit of confidence. Also, welcome to Stardews Panda. Welcome, Siege. How you guys doing? Yes, I was hyped and pre-ordered that, but could not play it on my 3070 for almost a year. Oh, Darktide? Yeah. Darktide, I pre-ordered Darktide. Technically, I pre-ordered it 1 week out. 1 week out. Because I wanted to try I wanted to do the early access beta. So I got it for that. I regretted my decision. And then day one, I played it again, and none of it was fixed. Which is funny, because for those who remember playing the early access beta, y'all remember how a lot of people were coping and saying, "Oh, it's still the beta," like a week out from launch. We're like, "Oh, they'll fix it for the launch." Does anyone remember that shit? That copium, that crazy level of cope. Who here remembers that shit? Because I do. It was hilarious. They'll fix it before launch. Launch comes, nothing's fixed. What do you know? It's almost like I could have told you that. I did tell you that. At least Dark Tide was a good game, but broken. That's a fair point. Unlike Dawn of War 3, which was just a polished turd. Fair point. Very fair point. True. I will definitely say Dark Tide is better than Dawn of War 3, which does not exist. It doesn't. Okay, so I've given you guys like my thoughts on the state of gaming and the broad strokes, and my specific thoughts on the Space Marine leaks and the confidence that it gave me that I didn't have before for the game's functionality on release. Keep in mind, I'm not endorsing the game for anybody who's like, oh, you know, I'll get it off your. I'm not endorsing it. I haven't seen the whole game. I saw an hour of footage and a couple clips here and there. So I can't tell anybody definitively that it's going to be 100% functional, it's going to have no problems, it's going to be the best game ever. Not going to say that. I didn't see the full story, so I haven't vetted that. I only saw an hour of gameplay. But, personally, that hour of gameplay gave me some confidence. So, now that you guys have got my thoughts, my boring thoughts out of the way, it's time, your turn. It's your turn to speak, my lovely ladies and gentlemen. So, I'm going to... apologize for my dog, she is an annoying mess. I'm real quick going to share the call line Discord link in the description. Eh? She better not be wrecking shit. Okay, I'm gonna share the link in the it's in the description for those who want to join, but I've also just quickly shared it in chat. Feel free to jump in the general waiting room, and then when they become available, and when it's your turn, try and manage yourselves. Going the next in line for 3, 2, and 1. I pull the next caller in from 1. So remember your spots and go in a fairly respectable order. I would try and keep my eye on it. So also make sure to leave a like on the stream, guys. I always appreciate the support. It's always welcome. Thank you. Thank you. All right, and let's pull in our first caller. Also, welcome Hammer Thor. Want to see more PvP multiplayer info? Fighting Nids is boring to me. Hey, that's fair. That's fair enough, my good man. Okay. First caller. Trip, can you hear me?
Yes.
How you doing?
Fine.
Goody goody. So, what are your thoughts on? We'll start. I guess I'll start with the question of the Space Marine leaks, is more specific, and then I'll end off asking like, what are your general thoughts on the gaming industry?
Well, I actually kind of like the fact that there is a level of polish when it comes to the game, apparently. I've not seen the leaks. I've been trying not to spoil myself, but
Well, no, that's fair enough.
But if the worst thing is the hilarious magnetic clip or tractor beam clip.
The glue mag.
Yeah. If that's the worst, and apparently you just said it disappeared quickly anyways.
Well, it took about 10 minutes in the footage, and it was after the person who was playing switched to a melee attack that it finally disappeared. But it did disappear, and the fair thing to point out is the leak build apparently was from February, and it's been months since then. So that build has presumably been even more cleaned up.
Presumably, but okay.
Presumably.
But if that's the worst so far, then that is actually pretty nice. Then again, it's not an open world game, so
true.
Not that does have less finicky problems.
True. There in a less open world game, they can make it more concise.
Nice seeing polish, anyways, though.
It is. It's like finding a zebra in your local woods. It's just like, what the fuck? Like, this is a miracle. How is this here?
I think unicorn would be better, but okay, you like zebras, cool.
Just what came to mind, because in my local area, if I find a zebra, I'm calling my local zoo, because there are no natural Roman zebras here. All right, so you haven't seen the leaks, but what are your thoughts right now, generally, on the gaming industry?
The gaming industry? Well, I do remember hearing a funny news. Have you heard of a game called Black Myth Sun Wukong, or is it Sun Wukong?
I have actually. I've heard of that. I haven't been following it too closely. I know a little while back I had some controversy.
Okay, but of course, and then we've heard about Well, Sweet Baby Inc. That thing was gonna come eventually, huh?
So
That top.
okay, so did Sweet Baby Inc. actually get involved with that game, or?
No, but they want to, and they're saying no.
Thank
Matter of
God.
fact, there are articles, people talking about like, yeah, no, we don't want anything to do with you.
That's the right response. That is the correct
Yes,
response.
and apparently the price tag for their service is in the millions.
For Sweet Baby Inc. to work with them?
Yes.
Fuck off. You're kidding me.
Actually, I've heard 7 million. That could be just rumor, or maybe it's
I hope that is just rumor. They can't be that deluded.
well, I mean, they did work for Warner Brothers, like the Suicide Squad thing, but oh boy.
Sujad says in the chat there's no confirmation that actually happened.
Okay, my bad then. But
If it did happen, that's fucking ridiculous. I can't imagine it did. Like, I can understand being deluded, right? Like, you think you give this big asset and like this aid to like studios and stuff, and having the delusional belief that like, oh, I'm worth millions for my advice. But I don't even think like.
Well, no, I think it's already a grift, anyways.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. I guess but I guess if we talk about something like the Suicide Squad, that shows two problems with the gaming industry. One, the woke crap.
Oh yeah.
And two, oh boy, the game. Basically, it's a live service game, and that's what they wanted. It's kind of funny, like, we've heard of Hogwarts Legacy and how it basically did well.
Yeah.
You know, a nice, complete game.
Well, it depends on who you ask. If you ask the lefty crowd, it's a transphobic.
Well, yes, but that's the lefty crowd,
right?
Despite just because they scream bloody murder and want somebody's head because they only agree with 99% of all their positions.
Isn't it weird that they're still like crucifying her, like J.K. Rowling?
Well, you have to remember, she did write one of the biggest franchises in recent years.
Right, but she's a lefty. She still is, but
yes, well,
she disagreed with them on one thing. I know, but you would think like after people have been saying that for so long, like, hey, you eat your own, you eat your own, you eat your own, that they would at least try and prove them wrong and like reverse this, especially when there's no ground to be won here. Because again, she already agrees with them on every other fucking topic. One frame of difference, which she wasn't even that strong-headed about her differences, and they're still trying to crucify it. It's like at some point you have to realize the demons you're chasing is your own fucking tail.
Okay, but hey, as much as I like to rag on wokeness, I would like to talk about the non-woke problems.
Right, and quite frankly, that's starting to become the bigger problem.
Yeah, like I said, now see, Hogwarts Legacy did well, complete game and all that, and Suicide Squad failed miserably because, well, it's a live service game with virtually little repetitive gameplay, which is a repetitive loop. Guess which one the studio really, really wanted?
Suicide Squad?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, well, we're not going to do more things like Hogwarts Legacy. Like, the things that gamers actually want. A complete game that they can just play and not be online, which isn't a season pass, Skinner Bosk-esque looter shooter. Like, I'm not even they wanted the live service game money.
The live service thing. Like, the thing is, the live service thing is like a lot of people are getting wise to it. I mean, kids aren't, obviously, but like older gamers, and by older I mean like 18 and up, are starting to really get tired of it. Because here's the thing: they can get away with live service games to an extent, and even egregious ones. Because I've encountered people who defend some of this shit like like loudly, like
Yeah.
very, very loudly, and there's no reasoning with them. But here's the thing: even those people, you can only do so many live services. Like, because the average person does not have enough money to get into this live service game, this live service game, this live service game, this live service
Yeah,
game,
they
this
can
game.
only do like one at a time. Like it's a time and money thing. Like I mean, that's kind of why I didn't get Helldivers personally, because personally, it's like
Actually, I will defend Helldivers a little bit here. It's
I don't
actually
have a problem with Helldivers.
right, right.
Well,
But I will
except
say, in
here's
regards to the live service aspect, it's probably the least egregious one because you can actually
true,
earn,
but
yeah, you can earn that in-game elite currency by just playing the game, and it's all cosmetic. It's a battle pass cosmetic thing,
yeah,
so it's the one of the less egregious examples.
true. But I mean, my problem was still a live service game, and just and I'm tired of video games I can't pause, even though I'm playing Elden Ring.
And that's single player. Well,
Yeah, mostly, but yeah, you still
online
can't pause it.
PvP.
Oh well.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah, but
totally get that aspect. Like the live service, it's the same problem with streaming services for like movies and stuff. It's like
Mhm.
it when it was just Netflix and Hulu, it was manageable and they were super successsul. But then when
Yep.
everybody else wanted their cut of the pie, just like the games industry is trying to do it, they're like, "Oh,
Yep.
we want
Well,
this."
that would be a
subscription
nice
service system.
topic, but
Oh yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, like I said, and that's the problem where. But when you were saying about cartoony aesthetics, I kind of have to disagree with you on that. I
Really?
kind of
Okay.
support cartoony. Well, see, here's the thing. That's kind of the
For all
graphical.
games?
Well, not all games, no,
Okay.
but I mean, I was kind of sick of the hyper realistic Call of Duty clone number 27.
Well, that's fine, but there's a difference between hyper realism and cartoony. There's this thing in between. StarCraft 2 is actually StarCraft 2 and StarCraft 1 are a pretty good example. Neither of those games had an art style that was hyper realistic. They were actually slightly cartoony. They were blocky, they were rounded out, but they didn't make it cartoony. The difference is
I play Psychonauts. I'm all for cartoony graphics.
Yeah, but for the majority of games?
Well, okay, true.
And that's my issue, is it's becoming the majority of games.
Oh, okay.
Cartoony and softness has their place. I'm not saying there can't be an Animal Crossing. There shouldn't be.
It's like more growing.
Right. Like we're getting
template now.
Right. We're getting more and more games that don't need to be like cartoony and because in the case I used for Stormgate has a faction that's literal demons, like the Infernal Host. And the game's already rated teen for teen. There's, at least I believe so. At least I think I saw that.
It kind of reminds me of Warcraft.
Yeah, and that's actually my problem. Is in Warcraft's case, especially if you look at the old Warcraft 3's graphics, and then you look at Warcraft 2 and 1, like all of them they had to do cartoony because of tech limitations or art limitations at those times, but they still had a grittiness to them. It was like an in-between between pure cartoon, like to the point where it's hyper rounded out, exaggerated, barely any blood, no depictions of something gory or horrifying. Like even like demons in Stormgate they look like plushies to me. They look like you could literally take them out of the game and put them, like, inflate them up a little bit, turn them into a plushie and give them to kids, and the kids wouldn't get in trouble at school. Like they don't look screwed up. So that's my problem, is more and more games that don't need to have that aesthetic. And personally, I feel that that aesthetic hurts the game because you don't feel the intensity that they're going for because it's so soft, it's so inoffensive. Like I'm fine with game, like obviously again there's a place for cartoony games, but we need that healthy in between where there's games that aren't afraid to be gritty and be dark, and again they don't have to go hyper realistic, but I just don't want the other extreme to become for everything. I don't want every game to remind me of Fortnite.
Yeah. Yes, the premier live service game.
Yeah.
But when I said that kind of thing, they really want the live service down, and that was pretty much the two problems with Suicide Squad. So it's literally the encapsulation of both big problems. The ideological death grip and corporate BS.
Yeah.
And I swear I would bet money that the woke pandering was their attempt to cover up the fact that it was basically a nothing game.
I won't say it was for that. It was for the purpose of covering it up. I do think it was supposed to be a distraction, though. It was supposed to actually achieve the purpose of like pandering and like virtue signaling. But I will agree to an extent.
Kind of funny how they knowing that these businesses do not notice that has not been working for the last 10 years. Like,
oh, real quick. Just got a super chat. My apologies. Edward Bailey, thank you so much for the £2. Yes, £2. I keep thinking that's the euro symbol. Thank you so much for the £2, my man. Hope you're doing okay. When we get an Asmo plushies instead of a pitbull, as soon as I have a big enough following that I feel like those will sell.
Oh man, I mean,
do I look like a pitbull?
And like I said,
if so, thank you. They are adorable. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, no, but that was and that seems to be the big problem where they and I don't know. I think it's because these plans were made years ago, and I swear corporations move at a snail's pace.
Oh hell yeah!
So, but still, you would think they'd finally begin seeing it.
You would think. Though
it does seem they may say that Marvel might be trying to, but it's still full of activists.
Yeah, and right now our biggest hope to see like the turn, like to things getting back to an escapist kind of a fun, non-political. Infused experience. And keep in mind, when we say politics, we don't mean not having political themes. Political themes are fine. It's propaganda. Our games shouldn't be telling us what to think.
Or at least a censorious bullshit basically dictating everything.
Yeah. But I got other callers coming up, man.
Yep.
And I want to thank you for so much for coming on.
That's pretty much all the topics, Ken.
Yeah.
And like I said, so, yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Yeah. Roughly speaking, I'm trying to keep each caller within 15 minutes. And I think we were in with 15 minutes for that one. And I love Trip when he comes in. All right, so we're going to pull on our next caller. Before I do, though, real quick, I'm just going to eyeball the chat. Wheezy, how you doing, my man? Metroid says you're at work. I hope you're enjoying from work, if you're at work. Oh, thank you for the super chat, Wheezy. Here's $5 to invest in the stock market. Yes, totally. The stock market that's doing amazingly well at the moment, isn't it? Thanks so much, man. I greatly appreciate it, man. Thank you. Don't get in trouble at work if you are at work. Hey, Lotus. Also from work. Hey. Also, please don't get in trouble. Although I don't think you will as much. You've been pretty good with that, I think, with like work and stuff, being on your phone anyway. But hope you're doing well. Don't burn yourself. Again, James Knight said earlier, I would say yes, because they have been open about what the game will be like. But as the saying goes, actions speak louder than words. So I'm going to wait and let the dust settle. Okay, that's in regards to Space Marine 2, I assume. Fair enough. Thor. Nostalgia Effect said Thor, if you scroll up, your link is there. Oh, okay. They were looking for the link to the open call. Yes. For anyone who wants to be in the call lines, that's there's two ways to get in. I can share the link again real quick in chat, but it's also in the description of the stream. So feel free to go to the description, click the link, and jump into general waiting room 1, 2, or 3. If all of those are occupied, go into general waiting room, and as soon as 3 is available, jump into 3, and then so on. You go up. I keep pulling the next caller from waiting call room 1. So that's like the head of the line, if you will. Welcome, Astartes. How you doing? Hey. Still watching Batman and Robin, just chilling with the stream. Awesome. Pun intended. All right, pulling in the next caller. Nostalgia Vivek. Oh, for some reason it pulled into waiting call. What? There we go. Yo, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good sir. How you doing?
I'm doing good. You?
Awesome. Welcome to the stream. Okay, so we'll start. We'll keep doing this for each caller. So we'll start with the smaller question. Have you seen the Space Marine 2 leaks? And if so, has that affected your opinion in regards to getting it? Has it made you more likely to get it, less likely? What's your thoughts?
Well, I already got it before the leaks happened. But I haven't actually seen much of the leaks. I've seen... I was scrolling through Instagram like today or yesterday whilst on break at work, and I saw a short combat sequence. It was maybe like 30, 40 seconds long. So that's all I've seen of the leaks. Everything else that I know is either from White Dwarf or from the trailers.
Okay.
I have got a little suspicion, though, that... Do you know who Marshall Beaumont is?
I do, yes. I don't know him personally, but I know of him.
I think he's played the game. I think he played the beta.
Okay.
On his Twitter, he's been very, very vague about knowing that the game's good and that it works well and that there isn't woke stuff in it. He's been very vague about how he knows, so I think he's either played it or someone who has played the beta has leaked information to him.
I mean, if he played the beta, I don't know why he wouldn't say, hey, I played the beta and it's good.
Apparently, this is information that I know from watching Valrak streams. Apparently, people who played the beta aren't allowed to say that they played the beta publicly.
Oh.
Because it was a closed beta. Invite only. It was an invite through a lottery system, though. So, like, Valrak hasn't played it.
I was about to say, Boamon got an invite?
Yeah, it was an invite through a lottery system that you signed up to, like, quite a while ago.
Well, I do generally... Boamon got an invite? I accidentally clicked on my own stream here. I do like Bo. I think he doesn't like me, but I can't...
He's an interesting guy.
I've seen him go back and forth from following me and unfollowing me and following me. I don't know how he feels about me, but generally I like Bo.
I kind of feel the same. I go a bit. I find him a bit volatile. He sometimes seems to have like moments where everything gets a bit too much for him, and he kind of, blows up a little bit. But
I think he gets he gets stressed out. That's
most of the time he's just normal and fine. And he's
But generally, I think he's like a good guy in this regard, and I have never seen a reason to distrust him. So, yeah, I can believe he's. If Bo says he's confident the game isn't woke, that is not something I will doubt. But still, I'm on
when he made the tweets. When he made the tweets afterwards, I did see that he was live, so I went into his live stream and asked him, and it was a fairly big chunk of text. And he just ignored the message, but he definitely saw it because his chat wasn't very full, and he was very, very much watching it because the moment someone else came in, he said hello to them. So it very much seems like he either doesn't want to continue to talk about it or give any more information, or that he can't.
Right. So if there is an agreement with the beta that they're not allowed to say they were in the beta, that would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Or if he's talked to someone who has played it and doesn't want to rat on them.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
but I'm confident with the game.
Well, that's good to hear. Yeah, in my case, I just saw the 1 hour, and the 1 hour looked very, very good. So I am a lot more hopeful than I was, and yeah, it's good to hear you're feeling confident.
Yeah, I've also seen I did see a couple screenshots from the leak, because they just ended up on the Horus Galaxy subreddit, the non-woke breakaway. I did have a look at that, and without spoiling anything, it's just screenshots. It doesn't really do anything spoilery for story. Everything looks really good, and it matches the aesthetic very well. There is one person who is talking about the leak who says that it's woke, but everyone else who is I've played it, here's some evidence that I've played it, they're lying, and it's very on the nose stuff. It's like one of the things that the leak claiming it's woke said is that there's a guardsman who's the Imperium's fascist, I hate it here. It's very it's the type of thing that if that was a thing in the league, everyone would be like, look at this, here it is. I feel like it would be a lot more well known than just one Steam community post.
Yeah, I feel like because especially with how the internet works and people can achieve anonymity pretty well. I feel like one of the people who played the beta, even if they signed an agreement saying they wouldn't talk about it, they'd make an anonymous account and share something.
It would be on 4chan. It would have been on 4chan way before Steam community.
So that's that's interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty much everything that I have to say about Space Marine 2. That doesn't get into anything that might be a little bit spoilery.
Right.
I'm just fairly confident in the game. I'm confident that it'll be a well-crafted Warhammer story. It'll have some very basic DI stuff, like more diversity. But as long as
we
it's
already
not
know
like
that from the trailers, because
and that's kind of something we do expect. It's not necessarily like it's not snapping the law in half to do it. It's
as I said when I saw that before, if the most woke the game is the UN of Ultramarines, then we're doing pretty good. Like if that's the worst it gets, then I wouldn't even notch that. That's like a nothing burger.
Yeah. I'll also be keeping everyone updated in the server with if I think it's woke or not when I'm playing it, because I've got the early access one.
And I will trust your review when you come out. So if you come out on release day and you play it through without spoiling me, tell me yay or nay. I would have greatly appreciate it.
Yep. Yeah, I'll definitely do that. I'll be starting teaching though when it comes out, so I might be a bit slower at finishing it than some others.
All right. So that's it for the Space Marine. Your thoughts on Space Marine 2 and the leaks and the beta. So I guess to the broader, bigger question: how are you feeling about the state of the gaming industry as a whole right now?
I feel like there's a lot of good stuff that comes out, but it's just a lot of good stuff in a sea of shit. There's some good gems, and there's way more stuff coming out than there ever has been, but there's just a lot of it that's really lazy. And I feel like more than anything, laziness is what's actually killing games. Because when a sequel comes out, my expectation now is that it's going to have less and be worse than the original. Whereas always the assumption was, it's going to be the same but more. And I would say that was true up until maybe about 2018, 2019. Bethesda, maybe not Bethesda though.
No.
Bethesda's like the game company that I know the most, so it's like the one that I can go on for forever about, which I won't. But at least all I need to say is 5,000 hours of Skyrim. So I just then going back and playing Morrowind. Morrowind's way better. It's got so much more. I don't get why game companies have decided over time that let's simplify our games, but also remove features and just make the games overall worse. I feel like that's just the norm now.
I would agree.
I feel like that's just. I mean, even with the game that doesn't exist, but that Dawn of War 3. I don't know how I know about this because it doesn't exist, but that has way less in it than Dawn of War 2 ever did. And even Dawn of War 1, and it is
a disgrace to even bring up Dawn of War 1 and compare it in the same sentence.
It's so bad. It's just because of how games are now, though, where there's so many games coming out that I just have zero interest in. I do find myself playing a lot of older games, mostly from like about 2008 to like 2015, but some bit before and some bit after. Mostly cycle through like Bethesda games and then like Mass Effect and Star Wars: The Old Republic, and playing through mostly like around that block. And it could be partially influenced by nostalgia because that's when I was like young, but not like a little kid. I was out, it was like my early teenage years and stuff like that.
You went to Wheeling.
And it's just there's so much of it that's just better from back then.
Oh yeah.
And it's like it's not even about like innovation or doing more. Even if Bethesda made a game that did the same amount as Morrowind, I'd be happy because that would be amazing.
Oh yeah.
But
real quick, slight tangent. But did you play Fallout London?
I've played probably in total about 10 hours of Fallout London. I keep getting into work, and then it stops working about 8-9 hours into my playthrough. So I've played a bit of it, but I have not been able to actually get really deep into it. I've only played the early parts of it.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't had a chance.
I really like what I've played of it. It's, other than the polish, it's better Bethesda content than Bethesda's put out in a little while.
Yeah, and to attach that to the core topic a little bit here, and to what you're saying, isn't it fascinating that when gamers make a game effectively, in this case a big mod, to be fair, but it's the closest example off the top of my head, when gamers who are playing games, who love franchises, when they make the game, when they make it, and from what I've seen of Fallout London, and I haven't had a chance to play it, but I've been watching a friend stream it on Discord, my buddy Caboose, and it's been very fun to watch him and get enthused and actually play it. But it's so interesting that when gamers themselves make something, it's so much more full of passion, interest, and innovation. And there's a lot of custom assets in like Fallout London that I've seen that, technically speaking, they didn't need to do for that mod. There was plenty they could have just taken from the base game and just run with it and be fair. But there's a bunch of new stuff, like the whole UI, the overhaul with that, the different Pip-Boy, like a lot of these subtle, tiny details, these little love letters to like the innovation and the ideas of Fallout. Like, it's something we're not seeing. And to your point about like with sequels, we expect more, we expect innovation, we expect the core fundamentals of the previous game, but with innovation and things added to it. We're getting copy and paste jobs instead, with usually less mechanics, less content, and far less compelling stories. So I guess like my question is, do you think gamers are no longer making games? Like when we look at these developers.
I mean, I think they're being guided more by what their shareholders want than by passion. I think, I'm not 100% sure how confirmed this was or not, but Fallout 76 was rumored to be a game mostly pushed by shareholders, which would explain a lot of problems with the game. But I'll also admit there was a lot of newer Fallout fans at the time of Fallout 4 coming out and just before, kind of demanding that it'll have co-op and multiplayer aspects to it, which I was always against. But a lot of newer fans were really into. And at the time, it ended up with its own Battle Royale mode and all that sort of stuff. The Battle Royale mode was actually probably the most fun part of the game. But these live service games are very desirable to the people who only care about the money. And ultimately, that's the people who have the power. That's ultimately the people who are going to make the decisions. It's where the money is. And it fails often. I'm surprised they haven't caught up yet. But all that sort of stuff moves really slow. I think gamers are still developing the games, but I doubt gamers are writing, and I doubt gamers are kind of pushing the direction of the industry by through their money, because developers aren't the world's best paid people. They don't have the money to fund a lot of these titles. A lot of the best games that are made by people who are passionate about what they're making, like for Kingdom Come Deliverance, that was crowdfunded. That was it was a phenomenal game.
Oh yeah,
getting a sequel this year that I'm really excited for.
I'm actually excited for that too. I finally actually played through it, because for the longest time I kept like leaving my save like only at like 20 hours in, 25 hours in. Mm-hmm. And just dicking around the world, and I forgot to go back to it. But because of the trailers for the second sequel, I finally sat down and finished the game.
Yeah, I mean, I love that game. I got into it because I studied history. My dissertation was on swords. I I was a practitioner of HEMA for about 6 years, which is, if you don't know, basically historical sword fighting. And so obviously that game was an instant sell for me. And I'm really excited for the sequel. And it's clear that obviously it's a very janky game, but the passion kind of shined through it and made it really fun. So it's when passion gets involved with the creation of games, it's very obvious. But when it's just money that pushes things, which you get a lot of with AAA titles, that's where it very clearly falls through. And I expect it to disappear eventually because it fails fairly consistently. And as much as shareholders are stupid, they still care about money, and so they're gonna eventually push in a different direction that gets popular and wear that out, and it'll probably repeat a bit. And I think that's just how it is now. I think eventually it'll probably sort itself out a little bit, and you'll get a lot more gems coming out. And I think shareholders will probably kind of have to give in on their on pushing like live service, because live service consistently fails. But I can't really say exactly how it's going to go because I have no clue.
True. It's all predictions. It's all, like, obviously I'm not asking anybody to give me premonitions here, but based on what you've seen, like, what do you think? Where do you think it's going to go? And your responses are very fair for an analysis.
Yeah, I mostly hope that things are going to go in the right direction. Like, I hope Bethesda sort themselves out and don't, and make a proper RPG for the next Elder Scrolls game. And I hope that I hope that, as much as I'm very, very optimistic about Space Marine 2, I still can't be certain. I hope that game is very faithful, and I hope it's a very fun action game. It looks like it's going to be, and it sounds like it's going to be. And I just consistently hope that games that come out are going to be really fun. They don't even need to be the highest quality games. Like, they can be like a 7 out of 10 and still be fun to play. It'd still be.
Right now, a 7 out of 10 game is very, very welcome, because in my opinion, we've been getting a lot of. I won't be like disingenuous to say like 2 out of 10s, but we've been getting a lot of, I would say, 5 and 4s. Like, a lot of games that are just, they had so much. Payday 3, for example, like, and that's not even an example of like wokeness. That's an example of like the business wise and gameplay wise, they just, and server capacity wise, like, they completely fucked that game. So, like, it's I need 7 out of 10s again, please. I'll take 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I miss the old days of like the 7 out of 10 that would drop, and everyone would be like, "Oh, this game's good," for about a month, and then it would disappear, and then it would get like a sequel that was about the same a little bit later. Like, I'm thinking like Crackdown. Obviously they had the third game, which was terrible, but I kind of miss the old like the old sort of we've got a concept, let's see if it works type of games, where not pretty much everything demands like proof that it's worked before now, and if it doesn't, if it's new, they don't want it because it's risky.
Yeah, they're afraid to take risks. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate it. I have one last question. Are you a Geordie? I don't know what that is.
Yes. Well, kind of. Close enough.
Okay. I have no context.
Close enough. It's a group of people from a certain city in the north of England. Okay. I'm not from that city, but I'm from nearby.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. I greatly appreciate it, and thank you for the very detailed analysis. I appreciate it. Like, I appreciate the detailed response. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Speak to that, Matt.
Have a good one.
Bye.
All right, that was Nostalgia Vivek. Always love to have him on, and he's a great member of the community. Welcome, Lucas von Karstein. Welcome. Urus, welcome. The accent proper gives it away. I suppose so. Nathan's Geordie radar is on point. Not perfectly on point, keep in mind, he did say I wasn't from the city, but from the area. So it wasn't on the center of the target board, but a little off, a little slightly off, but close, very close. All right, so we're gonna pull in on. Well, let me double check. The chat doesn't have any ats at me. Maddie DeWow was here earlier. Way Lord Metal at he missing stream. Oh, where I think he meant to say where Lord Metal at he missing the stream. He's probably busy, I'd assume. Actually, at this hour he might be asleep. It's late in the afternoon, I think, in the UK. Isn't it like 9:30? Also, welcome Yokai. Don't know if I said welcome earlier. Should play Castlevania. Castlevania is a good game. Although I guess there's arguments on which one. Okay, so I don't see any other ats, so I think... Yeah, alright. Yeah, it's 9:20 p.m. Okay, yeah, he's probably asleep, to be fair. Alright, pulling in Nega Productions. If I say the name, it might be too close for YouTube.
It's Nega Productions. That's a Nega like negative.
Check to see if the stream's still monetized.
or you could just say N Productions and be okay with it.
We'll go with N to
all right. All right. It's an anagram. It stands for Nerds Experiencing Gaming Adventures. It's part of my YouTube channel.
Oh, that's cool. So, how you doing?
Pretty good. Just got out of the shower, cleaning clothes, doing chores.
A gamer that showers?
I know, right?
Next, you're going to say you're married.
I'm not, unfortunately.
Dang. Well, you will be soon enough. Don't worry. I have no doubt.
I have hope.
If you shower, you're already in the 10th percentile.
Apparently.
All right. Jokes aside. So, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Do I sound okay?
Yeah, you sound perfectly fine.
Thank you.
So, as we've been doing with each caller, what are your thoughts on the Space Marine leaks? If you've seen them, if you played the beta, do you have any thoughts generally? How you feeling? Any confidence gained with recent news?
Yes. So let's start at the beginning. So when the game was announced, I originally signed up for the beta. I did the whole application process, but I never got picked. Then the game got delayed for a year. I don't know if you recall that.
I do recall that, yes.
Game gets delayed for a year, and my speculation on that was because it was originally announced that it would have multiplayer, co-op, co-op campaign and multiplayer originally. But then several weeks before it got taken down, or got delayed, that little piece that said the game would have that wasn't on the advertisement page anymore. So my speculation, or what I think happened, is that the multiplayer wasn't finished yet. Because prior to that point, we had never gotten any footage of it.
Right.
So the game gets delayed, and then we find out that the lead directive writer for the game is a Wookiee. And that, to me, kind of it killed all hype for the game for me.
Same. Like that's the big thing that shot me in the kneecaps.
Yeah, especially directly after the Adeptus Custodi situation as well.
Yeah.
Where it's just okay. So apparently, franchise is infected now.
You cut up a little bit, but not too much. I think we got the.
Oh, okay. So at that point, when I heard about that, I was like, okay, well, now the franchise is infected now.
Right.
I don't want to touch it with 10-foot pole. However, when the leak happened, I was navigating through 4chan threads, and people were uploading videos of it. And I was seeing footage, and I was quite surprised by just how good it was, including, I don't know, is it okay if I talk spoilers? No, right?
We're trying to avoid spoilers,
okay.
So you can get, like, describing, like, the gameplay and stuff at certain segments, but try and avoid any narrative bits.
Yeah, there was nothing in the introduction, in, like, the first two hours of the game, there was nothing that indicated any wokeness in this game. There was nothing, and everything sat okay with the lore.
Yeah, that was my summary of the first hour that I saw.
Yeah, and I was expecting significantly worse, but when I saw just how polished the game was and how true it was to the setting, it gave me back some hope that the game was going to be good. Now I don't pre-order games. The last game I pre-ordered was Pokemon Sun and Moon when that came out more than a decade ago. and I'm still not going to pre-order this game. But based on what I've seen from beginning to end, if you want to do it, I think it's that polished and I think it's that good from what I have seen. Now I understand this leaked version of the game is stated to be over a year old.
Not a whole year. It's from February, so over half a year.
Yeah, almost half a year, which is insane to think about because it's like it's almost done. Like you see it and you're like, wow, this is crazy.
And that footage that I will say this, like without that footage, my reluctancy to get it was much higher. But when I saw that gameplay, like that, I was like, that isn't lagging. That isn't bugging the fuck out. The audio isn't clipping. There isn't a black void of death. Like I was just denoting all the errors that, like my last pre-order, was depending. I can't remember if Darktide came out before or after. It came out after Cyberpunk 2077, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So my last pre-order technically was Darktide, but I did it just to play the beta on stream, and boy did I regret that. But
it was horrible in release. Yeah, terrible.
My last pre-order that was like a hopeful one, like it wasn't for content, it was just like I really want to fucking get this game, was Cyberpunk 2077. And holy crap, like falling through the map, black void of death, game crash. It was so fucking bad. And you couldn't finish the campaign because one of the quests bugged the fuck out. So it was a total nightmare on release. And since then, I have not pre-ordered. I'm still not going to pre-order this one, and I'm not going to recommend it, even off the footage I saw, which, again, did give me confidence of functionality, and I didn't see any wokeness. But I'm not going to go so far as to recommend a pre-order. And obviously, I'm not going to tell anybody what to do. It's your money. You want to pre-order it, I can't tell you no. You don't want to pre-order it, I can't tell you yes. So it's up to you guys. But personally, I'm still going to stick with the don't pre-order. Wait till day one, and for the people who did pre-order or for the people who did buy it, wait to hear from them, preferably in a reviewer you trust, that you get the clean bill of health. Like, wait for that. Because an hour, 2 hours of the game isn't enough to say wholesale the game is free of any problems. But functionality-wise, I'm pretty confident now on launch it's going to actually be good.
Imagine it gets released and it's actually worse.
That would from now on I'm gonna look at, if that happens from now on, I'm gonna look at leaks the same way a conspiracy theorist looks at anything normal. I do not trust you, demon.
It would kill all confidence in gaming. I would think.
Oh yeah, like it's gonna make people think that the leak was intentional and it was
right.
Yeah, it's gonna look like a manipulation. And it's gonna seriously, it's gonna turn so many people into conspiracy theorists. And to be fair, at that point, would it be a conspiracy?
Oh well, I don't know. It's
gonna fuck with people hard if that happens.
It is. I mean, it already messes with people because people already think that the leak happened because there wasn't consumer confidence in the product. But we'll see.
Yeah. So any thoughts? Actually, I think we've got, like, you're confident about the game. You've seen 2 hours. You feel positive.
Oh, I've seen for my own hand, I've seen the first 2 hours of the game, but I know about the entirety of the game.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which is why I'm more confident in, like, I personally, I'm not saying you should do this, but I would feel comfortable pre-ordering. I am not. Solely because I don't know how stable the multiplayer is going to be.
Fair enough.
Also, we don't know what the specs are. We still don't know what the specs are.
Right.
I don't know if my computer is going to be able to run that.
Wait, so none of the... Well, to be fair, the leaked footage I saw, the guy didn't share his build. It's interesting that none of the leakers shared their PC builds.
To my knowledge, they haven't... The studio, I forget the name is failing me right now. But they have not said what the minimum requirements for running the game is, which, in my opinion, is a bit unacceptable considering that we're less than a month away from release.
Yeah, that
doesn't bode well for me.
It doesn't, because that tells me that they're still doing spec tests. Like they're still doing them now. Because normally there's no reason to hold those off. Like, that only hurts you in terms of marketing. That doesn't help at all. So to me that's what that means. They're still doing spec tests. My guess is that when the game comes out, it's gonna probably have a minimum requirement of a 2080. This is entirely a guess, by the way, based on the footage I saw, the detail, the graphics render. I'm gonna
clear.
I'm gonna guess a 2080. I hope it wouldn't be even higher than that. Like if the bare minimum is a 3060 or similar, that's like there's still people who are running 1060s, 1080s. So
like my computer can run Monster Hunter World at extremely high settings. And even then, my computer, like I can hear the fan going, like, "Hey, you gotta slow down."
yeah. My computer can handle most games at high to ultra, and I have a 2080 Super, and I'm overclocking it usually when I play games. So I have a 2080 Super. I'm able to get most games to work on it pretty well, especially when you overclock it. But generally, especially with newer games, like the minimum requirements are getting really close to what I have for a build. Not super close, but we're getting into the 20s now for some games.
Which is expected. Like let's not be fools here.
Right.
I think it's gonna advance. You need to upgrade as years go on, but it used to be where you would only upgrade every 5 years. Now it's every 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. I need to upgrade, but the graphics cards are so fucking expensive right now.
It's crazy. Hey, but everything's crashing, so yeah, now might be the time.
I actually, now that you mention that, I'll probably have to look up the price tag soon. But so thank you for your thoughts on Space Marine. Let's jump into the other half of the topic.
Sure.
So what are your thoughts on the state of the gaming industry as a whole right now?
We're in a very dark place in terms of the gaming industry.
Oh yeah.
And there's two, especially live service games, where you have something as successful as Helldivers that originally wasn't supposed to be successful. The creators didn't expect. I mostly expected maybe 9,000 players at most, and Helldivers 2 is, in my opinion, the most popular live service game that has been released in the past decade.
It's holding pretty good, and Russian Badger just did a video on it, so I have a feeling that those numbers are going to shoot up again.
Me too. I expect it to. I expect the numbers to go up. However, Sony really shot them down.
Yeah, I haven't played it since that controversy.
Me too, because of that reason.
Yeah.
Now I'm in America, so I don't suffer from any of the not having access issues. But I can imagine if I lived in any of the 160 countries that had the game, and now no longer had the game, I would be not only resentful but kind of hateful towards Sony in that regard.
Oh yeah, and it from a business standpoint, it's also like you bought the game on Steam, right?
Right.
You got to play it. There was no prevention. The amount of refunds that Steam would have to give out, because they would have to legally, because in a lot of those countries, maybe not all of them, some of them might be previously communist countries that have really bad laws when it comes to like reimbursement for these kinds of scams. Because that's effectively what it becomes at that point, right? You sold it and advertised it on this platform that this person could access. They did buy it. They did exchange money for it.
It's like you buy a product and then they take it away.
Right. There's plenty of countries, and plenty of those countries I'm pretty sure that it wasn't available in. They have room to sue. And let's be honest, the real reason Sony did it wasn't just the vocal backlash of gamers. It was the legal issues. Like that was about to shoot them in the nutsack.
Absolutely, and it's one of those ramifications that I think. So, gamer boycotts don't work, as we all know. There's a famous saying where we're just one good CGI cinematic away from pre-ordering games again.
Sadly, yes.
Where you're like, oh, I hate this. Look at WoW, World of Warcraft. The game. Did you play World of Warcraft? Sorry.
Oh yes, I played WoW from vanilla, towards the end of vanilla, to be fair. From vanilla all the way to Dragonflight, and the biggest break I took in between those was technically in between Dragonflight and Shadowlands, because I quit temporarily for Shadowlands, came back for Dragonflight just to try it out, regretted it, stopped playing again. So I've been WoW sober for a couple of years now.
Good, stay that way.
Yeah, that was a bad addiction. If we're going to talk about games where you have countless hours in. I easily clocked over, I want to say over 16 years, probably 100,000 plus hours. I played that like every fucking day after school. Yeah, I had an addiction to WoW for a long time.
Good. It's a good thing you know WoW, because this is relevant to what I'm going to say. Where WoW has a lot of problems. Like anyone who plays WoW can admit it. And people and the WoW players will pick up torches and pitchforks and just start complaining, but never do anything about it, because all Blizzard does is release the next cinematic for either the next patch or expansion, and everyone's happy again. So when this Helldiver situation happened, and they just took away the games for everyone, it's like, well, guess what? Now you can't even play the game. It would completely flip that situation on its head, because now the gamers who would normally just support anything that happens now can't play it, and now they no longer have that escapism. Am I making sense there?
Yep, they had no avenue out to cope about it.
Exactly. So that's, and now they actually went out and started complaining about it. They complained so much, in fact, that Sony had to. They took 2 steps back, but that's about as much as they did, because most of those countries still don't have. If you bought it in those countries, you still can't play it in most of them.
Yeah,
which is, it's unacceptable. But that's just one avenue of the gaming industry. Then we have other live service games that are just, they get released, and I assume it's because the companies think they're going to make a lot of money because of Helldivers.
Yeah, well, not just because of Helldivers. Like live service, like you can trace it back to WoW technically, but you know, subscription service games or battle pass based games, loot box based games, like the establishment of live service is well before Helldivers, and they've
absolutely,
yeah, they've been chasing this rabbit for a long fucking time.
Yeah, but Helldivers kind of brought it back into the, I wouldn't say the mainstream, but it gave the studios hope that
they could still do it.
They could still do it, because I don't know if you recall where many studios did not want to make single player games. All they wanted to do was live service, because they thought single player games couldn't be successful. And then Elden Ring pops out.
Oh yeah, I remember.
It completely changes the mindset of those studios. And then they start believing that live service games wouldn't be as successful. And then Helldivers 2 comes out, and it changes it again. But then we have games like Concord that just came out, and Overwatch 2, where in the case of Overwatch 2, you're promised something in the form of a single player campaign.
They fucking lied. I'm still calling it what it was. A lot of people say
it's a lie.
It was a lie. They straight up fucking lied. They
Now,
should be sued over that. That was ridiculous.
I agree. They should. They should suffer some form of legal punishment for doing so.
Yeah, because it's false advertising. I'm surprised no one put a class action on that, because that you put in the ad. Now, I guess at the end of the day, like if it's not on the back cover of the game case, apparently, they can get away with it. But that's ridiculous. Like part of the advertising isn't just the freaking case of the game. It's not just the description on Steam or Battle.net. It's everything building up to those things.
It's because the campaign was the reason to justify moving from Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2.
Yeah,
that was the whole reason. And they also killed one player, so it went from 6 players to 5 players. And fun fact, they're bringing that back, by the way.
Yeah, I heard there's a bunch of memes that's like Overwatch's progress, and then it like shows like a chart, and then it shows at the end of the chart Overwatch 1.
It's crazy. It's insane that they decided, hey, let's kill off our game, make a sequel, and then go back to the original. It's like, what was the whole point of it then? What I don't understand these companies.
I don't either. Like it. The thing is, like, when we talk about the woke stuff, like, we typically know or feel pretty confident that's just in the writing room and some of the devs, for sure, like the actual people making like the assets stuff. But there's no explanation that we can come up with, at least that I can come up with. Maybe you have a theory, but I have no idea what's going on in the business side of it, because I can't imagine that's wokeified as much as, because those are number pushers, those are math people, right?
Notice how everything that we talked about up until this point has nothing to do with wokeness.
Right.
This was all just the game industry problem. So
yeah, these are much bigger problems than wokeness. Keep in mind, a woke game with killer fucking gameplay, no one's gonna give a shit. They're just gonna ignore the story.
Exactly. But that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
At least that I heard. Maybe there's one out there, but as far as I know, that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, a good example of this point, by the way, Hogwarts Legacy. I think that's a pretty good game. It has one.
Is it woke?
It has one element that is woke. It's a single character. It's very minor, but objectively, it's woke. There's a trans character that you regularly interact with for quests and stuff. Now, they do wokeness in that regard, and in my opinion, if you're gonna push your politics in a game, there is a right way to do it, and they did it with this character, because the character doesn't say I'm a trans person, there's this big narrative around like them being discriminated against based on this thing. It doesn't like hit you over the head with it. The only clues to it is if you do a personal quest for them, but that's a woke element of the game. Plus, there's also some interactions with some other characters. But
what character? I don't think because I played the game. I don't
do you know the bar owner in Hogsmeade?
Yes.
Okay, that's a trans. Both voiced by a trans person, and the character themselves are trans. Yes.
I never put two and two together. I'll have to replay it.
And that's just it. That's why I'm saying it's such a good example of it. If you're going, and I don't think you should, but if you're going to push your politics into something, you do it in a way that's non-invasive. Like,
sure,
absolutely. Yeah, you don't hit your players and you don't hit people who are enjoying the game and trying to play the game over the head with it. And that was a good example of it.
Don't make the woke aspect to get the main focus of the game, which is where I think many of these companies are like, look at this character. This character's trans, and it's like, what was the point of doing that? Like, why? Actually, what's special about that? Nothing.
Yeah. Dangerous says in Cyberpunk it was also the bartender. Yeah. Actually, it's funny you say that because now that I think about it, Hogwarts Legacy and Cyberpunk both made the bartender trans. I don't know why.
Or maybe a reference or.
Is it? Like, I don't know. Maybe it is. It's a reference that totally goes over my head.
Where were we?
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. Oh, yeah. So the wokeness in gaming, where it's an issue, but I feel like it's a symptom of a larger problem.
Right.
In my opinion. Would games be better if they didn't have these woke features or woke aspects to them? Absolutely, of course. Would it fix the gaming scene as a whole? No. There's bigger problems at hand, and I think it has to do with investors, where every year they expect these games to be more and more profitable. And there's only so much a company can do, where eventually they're going to have to start shoving in microtransactions just to make quarterly earnings go up. And that's something that we're seeing with a lot of these new games coming out, especially the live service ones, Concord and Suicide Squad, where these games don't feel like they were made by gamers. These games don't feel like they have any love or any genuine passion. It just seems like, what can we shove out within 1 or 2 years and then fill it to the brim with microtransactions and then just move on to the next project, you know?
Yeah. And there's also... And I'm going to throw this kind of out there for everybody to consider. Another element that's also going to... I think it's not affecting it as much now. At least we have no evidence of it. But one thing that's going to affect the quality of games going forward is also the AI generation elements.
What's your opinion on AI? I'm just curious.
I think it's... I think we're jumping ahead too fast with the technology. I think I know it's a weird quote to use, but it's kind of like that quote from Jurassic Park where it's like, but before you even know what you had, you patent it, you sell it, and
now it's out there.
Yeah, now it's out there. Like you're not really stopping and thinking, should we be doing this? You're just focused on the fact that you can do it. And that's kind of where we're at for AI. That's my concern, is we're in that stage where so many people are hyper focused on advancing the technology, but nobody seems to be stopping and going, maybe we should consider, ways of doing this that isn't going to be a problem for people, that could affect jobs, that could affect it. I have huge concerns with it.
I agree, but from a gaming perspective, because this is technology advancing.
Right.
You can't stop it.
No, you can't stop it, but you can make. And here's the thing: I'm not pro regulation, but you can make regulations around it. You can make rules for it. As you advance technology, you can advance it, but you also need to consider the consequences. And I think we're
Yes.
advancing and advancing and advancing, but no
Kind
one,
of very
like no one involved is stopping and saying, what are the consequences of this? What could this lead to? Maybe we should put in some kind of safety feature or some kind of limiter or something that prevents it from being an issue for people and focus on the benefits.
When it comes to production and like AI taking over jobs, I hope that is something that these companies, these studios take into consideration. I doubt that they will, but that is my hope, or rather my cope, as I'd like to say.
Yeah, and it's my hope as well. But I fear that they're actually, especially higher ups,
Yes.
they're for them. That's the upside. is they can throw workers out that they don't have to pay, and they can press a button on an AI machine.
That's such a horrible way of, like, I can see it happening. That's the worst part. I can see that being the reality, but God, when did we go so wrong when it comes to this?
I want to be wrong about that. I want to think that that's not where we're going, but again, I just don't see
the writing on the wall is there, right?
Yeah, I don't see anybody pressing the brakes. That's the thing. Like it's just every month I hear about news about this new AI feature, this new advancement, this new thing that they're doing, and I'm seeing nothing being done about bringing up concerns about it.
Now, that's the fear, but there's also a little bit of hope in there, where there's, what Suno is, right? The AI music creator.
I think I know what it is. It's the AI app where you can like put in lyrics and they will generate AI voice. Yeah, I know of that.
That's impressive. Like, to me, I
that's
look at
very
that and
impressive.
I'm like, this is really, and it sounds really good too. But it goes back to the AI thing, where personally, I'm not against AI. I think it's like any technology. It all depends on how you use it and how you apply it to things. And I feel like a lot of these studios are applying it lazily, where they put in a prompt, they grab it, and then that's how it ships out. And I don't think that's how the tool needs to be applied.
Right.
Like, I do some pixel art, I also do some regular physical art. But if I was a art designer, I would use AI as a jumping off point for stuff like concept art. Like, because nothing is worse than just staring at a blank page and not having something to kind of work with.
Yeah, and for me, I'm a 3D artist by practice and by previously at one point trade. And I like when I 3D model, I need 2D art, concept art to go off of.
Mm-hmm.
Now, even with that point, that's another job taken away though, because
true,
concept artists, that's a huge part of the industry of the creative fields. Whether we're talking gaming, whether we're talking tabletop gaming, where like people designing the 2D models that will become the 3D model that will become the miniature.
It's a real shame. It's a shame that's the case, but at a certain point, we're going to reach, like, obviously there's always going to be a need for those types of people, like people who do concept art.
Will there be though? That's the issue with AI.
Yes. Well,
if you can spend $2 for an AI machine to get a full page of concept art, and in the future they're going to advance it, they're only going to make it even better. You're not going to have to worry about the 6-finger issue. You're not going to have to worry about certain parts of the artwork just being converted. If you can pay $2 to generate 6 pages of AI art for characters, unique character designs. Whereas if you'd have to hire an artist to do it, you'd have to pay them 20 to 10 times that amount.
I think there will be, but their qualifications will be significantly higher, because these AI still need something to feed on. You don't just, they need something to kind of work upon. And
but
yes, they can work upon each other.
Internet is the thing, and there's lots of art that already is in existence.
So, in my perfect world, or how I would run it, is that I would have a professional concept artist whose job is to create concept art, and then when we work on a project, I would have him feed our own designed AI bot, and then function via that. Because let's face it, if I'm trying to create a game and I can save 6 months of development time creating art, I'm going to do that. 6 months of time is a long time for me to just not have, for me to work in. And much like automation where it replaced jobs. I feel like AI is doing that at a very rapid pace, a pace that we ourselves are not ready for yet.
Yeah, and that, again, that's part of my problem is no one's hitting the brakes, no one's putting regulations, no one's bringing up concerns. And
Yeah, it's a shame because we're heading towards the top of that hill and we're about to fall down, and no one has ever, or at least in recent times, we're about to hit that slope at such a fast rate that most of us aren't going to make it.
yeah,
And in the past, we had generational time to kind of adapt to that. To think printing press, cars, whatever technology advanced during World War One, all the way until the 1960s, where jobs were replaced by technology that was advancing during that era. But whereas it took maybe several decades to happening, now it's only taking 1 or 2 years.
yeah. And like
And
you said, there's no generational
a cushion, I guess.
yeah, there's no time gap for people to figure out how they fit in the mix.
Yeah,
And with higher up corporate bodies that, they're not the artists, they're not the talent, they're only looking at the numbers. And in your perfect world example, you said, "Oh, I'd have a 2D artist that would feed the AI art with me." But here's the thing: why do that? Why hire an artist to feed a in-house AI machine with art to mix and match and make custom designs for, when you can just plug it to the internet, when it will have trillions of art pieces, everything from Little Johnny's noodle art that he took a picture of and shared on Reddit, for that he made for his mom, all the way up to
Well,
Picasso, Leonardo
I'll
da
tell you why.
Vinci.
I'll tell you why, and this is only because this is only applies to me because I understand it. You show this to a higher up, they're not going to care.
Hmm.
I still value the artistic integrity of it. I still want this art piece to still be like, oh, this was created by this guy. This is his art. And currently, AI art bots sort of just steal that art style from other people and just create this unholy amalgam of it.
Yeah,
And while it looks cool, it's not. To me, it's not morally correct to use. But in my own in my own perfect world, my own perfect scenario, um, we would still have the need for artists because even if you ship it into the machine and it spits something out, it still needs to be refined. It still needs to be adapted. It's like, okay, we like this face, but this body doesn't seem right. So why don't you modify it and make it fit into more of these specifications?
and that's certainly true for AI art now. But in the future, they're only working to make the AI art more indistinguishable from an artist. And I do feel we are going to get to a point where the AI art is not going to make the mistakes it makes now. We're not going to get six finger art like characters. We're not going to get these weird details on character art that's, all like that looks like it's half a skull and half a hair piece. We're going to get to a point where you type in the prompt, it'll spit something out, and you will have no clue. If you shared it with people, they would have no clue whatsoever that was AI generated.
Yeah, and we're not prepared for it.
No, we're not at
We're not
all.
we're not prepared for it.
And
And
the scary thing
I
is we're going to
feel
get there.
I feel for a lot of online artists because it's who'd have thought that this was the direction that our civilization would have gone 5 years ago.
And
It's crazy.
yeah, and
But
I got other people waiting in call. I know we've been going for a while. No, not that I like. This is a really good conversation, but I don't want to leave people waiting for too much longer. But I will.
sure, no problem.
Yeah, I will end on this point.
Hmm.
In regards to the AI stuff, as we said earlier, there's no stopping the train. Like it's going, it's going. There's no brakes, and right now there is a bit of hope that there will be an ethics or a morals clause about all of it that people will
I hope
adapt
there
to.
is.
But I hope
I
like hell there is. But as we say that, if we look back at a lot of jobs that the automated assembly lines have replaced, how hesitant were the companies that installed those to put them in to replace their workers?
not at all. Which is where I kind of want to end on my own point, which is at the end of the day, you have a responsibility to look out for yourself above all,
Mm-hmm.
because only you can look out for yourself truly. So either adapt or die.
Yep.
That is my opinion. That is my take on it all. It
And
is
I
a
would
shame that this is the direction, this is the end result, but alas, here we are.
I will say I hope we don't adapt AI tech so advanced and so quickly that we get a AM while it's my lifetime. I'd rather be dead before that.
Is that Am? Is that the AI from I Have No Mouth and I'm a Scream?
Yep.
Yeah.
I want to be long fucking dead before we get AI like that. Please.
Oh,
Let's not get there. I would shoot myself if we if we got to that point. No, thank you. But thank you so much, man. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate the conversation.
Likewise, I'll be around if you ever want to talk again. Peace out.
Thank you. All right. EVNet's in waiting call room 1, but I'm pretty sure caller number 2 was in there before. It wasn't even in general. I don't know. I feel like EVNet was not next in line. No offense, man, but I think the next person in line was the person waiting call room 2. All right, let me zip through the YouTube chat real quick. See if before you knew what you had. You patented it, you packaged it, slapped it on a plastic lunchbox, and now you want to sell it. You're selling it. Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. Yes, that's the good quote. Yeah, 2. Okay, so 2's up next. They could, they didn't stop to think if they should. Ian Malcolm Dress. Yeah. The good thing is that the works can quit their job and just press a button and make their own product without a middleman. True, but then that completely destroys like any kind of economy, right? At that point, the only jobs that are going to exist are whatever feed the AI machines. And in the case of the art stuff, there basically won't be a job there because, like I said, you can plug it to the internet. You have an infinite access to every kind of variable artwork that's ever existed. We don't need new artists to add to it because new artists aren't making anything that's so new that the AI stuff wouldn't be able to already replicate it based on what's already in existence. Sadly, I don't say this with any kind of positivity. Like this is, and keep in mind, people would say I'm giving the most negative scenario. I'm giving the scenario that I think is going to be the most realistic, despite what I hope. I hope I'm wrong. Here's the thing. I will generally give a pretty, I'd say pessimistic sometimes. Pessimistic, but I aim for realistic. I don't aim to just go for doomer. But if I think the scenario is bad and is likely to be bad, that's where I kind of am seeing things. And I'm worried. I'm terrified of the future. But there is always the hope that we will eventually, and hopefully soon, hit some brakes and be like, okay, we need to regulate this, or we need... Because keep in mind, I am not pro-regulation on a lot of things, but AI, definitely think there needs to be some regulation and limitations. Right now, we still have generative AI. I'm just, again, if in my lifetime, I do not want to see an AM. No, thank you. For those who don't know the story, I have no mouth, but I must scream. Look it up. Seriously, look it up right now. Like, I would not be offended if you left the stream to go check that out, because if you want a story that's a warning about this risks of AI, that one's gonna freak you out the most, and it's probably the most freaky. Like, holy fuck. And that book came out in like what, the 70s, the 60s? Holy shit! Like, that's terrifying. I hope we never get to that point. But there's no brakes on the train right now. Alright, so I'm just going to skim the chat. I think AI would be good for a robot character in an RPG that could react to your player die. Please don't encourage that nostalgia, because keep in mind, that's getting close. Like, if you create you're thinking of it in the pocket of like, oh, an AI RPG character you can play with. But I'm thinking of it in the expanded. It's like, okay, you've created an AI advanced enough that it can respond to your RPG like decisions and stuff, and like give responses that feel, assumingly if you advance them enough to properly. I'm seeing the scary part of that. And again, I love technology. I love the advancement of it, and I think the advancement of it in most cases is an objective good. But in the case of AI, there is a huge, like, hole of concern. I've got work in the morning, so I'm going to go now. All right, have a good one, Nostalgia Vivek. Thank you so much for coming, man, and I appreciate the conversation. You were fantastic. Thank you. It was a pleasure to be on stream again. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Transformers, the AllSpark are the next gen graphics cards for crypto mining. Oh my god. Alright. So I'm gonna pull in the next caller. I'm gonna try and do all three, but if I do, I'm gonna have to shorten the amount of time each one is on. So I'm gonna pull in the next caller. Hey man, can you hear me?
Yeah, I think. Can you?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I just had to mute the system in the background, mute the stream in the background.
Righto. Alright, how you doing?
Rather fine. Seems to have a bit of a cold, but we are approaching the season. Or in it, to be fair.
Yeah, I can't wait for the cold. This summer has been too hot. Well, so
I mean the affliction. I meant the affliction, not the thing. But yeah, we've had a bit. But I share your sentiments.
okay. Maybe I misunderstood what you said. Sorry, my apologies. All right.
Probably so.
So yeah, we'll start off like I have most of the callers. So, have you seen the Space Marine 2 leaks, and if so, have they affected your decision on whether or not to pick up the game?
I have not followed it that much, nor I think I have seen the more recent, any of the recent leaks. The last thing I heard of it was sort of the thing in one of your earlier videos about it, about the Ukrainian that leaked the entire thing due to the Russia stuff.
Yeah, which
So
if 100% true, crazy scenario.
quite. It likely wouldn't have affected anything because I probably would not have touched it until it was on a sale of any kind, really. So I would probably have waited regardless. In any case, if I was even interested, but if I even would, because if the news were positive, but even then, my current computer, it is a bit good, but I still have, but I have some doubts about it. So I would have been, so that probably would have made me wait even longer, and by then, who knows? That I would have forgotten about the game.
Okay. So even if the game is 100% functional, not woke, it's solid, great game, you're still gonna wait for a sale, or?
Probably I have had a few recent purchasing sprees, so I have essentially forced this upon me since I've not just essentially to keep myself in check. I'm not in any bad situation, but it is still mentally you need to hold yourself back.
I mean, it's good to keep a good close watch on your spending habits, especially if you've been overspending lately. All right, so good to know. With the state of gaming as a whole, what are your thoughts?
Well, there are some interesting things, and that I'm following interesting more upcoming games. Essentially, for one, Age of Mythology Retold is something I'm a bit following, but not that much.
Same.
Generally, I've been, but in general, I have been a bit distant, removed from it, focusing on the newer stuff, focusing mostly on myself, life as it is, and mostly going back to some old games or some games that I have not that I have never really finished. I have a bit of a backlog of that.
Hey, no, that's good. Like, I think a lot of people should be doing that, especially as we've been talking throughout the stream about like the state of the games industry. There's a lot of negativity with the future of it, and rightfully so. So a huge like kind of anti-doomer pill I'll provide is the upside is for anybody who's like feeling super downed by that that fear of the future with gaming. There's the huge upside of, well, there's a huge backlog of pre-existing games from a previous era that are way better and really, really good and fun to play, like Saints Row 2, etc. There's so many great games of the past that people can go to, play, buy, finish, and they'll be preoccupied for a while getting through all of it. So it's good on you to go back to some older games and enjoy a better time.
Yeah, regrettably, most of my, no, not regrettably, but most of my physical stuff are console games. Got a PS3 from my cousin way back when, so then it was mostly that, and then eventually we also bought their bought a PS4 from them, and so then it has mostly been that. But I've been going through games over to PC mostly now with having gotten a better computer, but even then most there are, and I have and due to more but it is a laptop, and most of them now don't come with any CD player, so, and most games are still essentially launchers for Steam for Steam Link, for example.
Yeah, I just got a super chat. My apologies. Scarfy the Strange, thank you so much for the super chat, man. Thank you. Artists won't go away. They'll just work for the AI companies by feeding their work to the algorithm while the company leases out the AI as a service. I already kind of confronted this point. I hope you're right, but I don't think you're right. Because as I mentioned before, why hire a bunch of artists that you have to pay a decent wage, I would argue, especially if a lot of their work is just going to get turned into an AI algorithm. Why hire a bunch of artists when you can just plug the AI into the internet? And then, therefore, because it's plugged into the internet, it can access every artwork that's ever existed. And and then combine and take all that artwork and then put it together into a piece. And you can't say, oh, well, because that's copyright infringement. No, it's not, because it took all those little tiny little elements and made it into something new. So you can't copyright that. The company that makes the AI machine that turned it out can now copyright the AI turned out thing, but there's absolutely no reason why they would not do that over hiring artists outside of an ethical level. And I don't know if you noticed, but higher ups in corporations don't exactly prioritize the ethical part. So I unless there is a legal law to put in place to make that happen, which again, I'm not usually pro regulation of much, but in that regard, that should be a law. If they put into legislation a law that prevents companies from creating that, new art styles, but again, you're thinking, okay, but the new art styles, new stuff, okay, but there's already trillions of pre-existing art pieces in existence right now. Trillions. I don't think that's an exaggeration. Because again, it's everything from little Timmy sharing a picture on his phone of his macaroni art, all the way to Leonardo da Vinci, Picasso, etc., and everything in between. Every college student who shared a live stream of them drawing art, every amateur artist on YouTube who's practicing it. What there's already, like, even if we like melt those down to art styles, we're still talking hundreds of thousands of art styles that the AI art can churn out from the internet. Unless you're arguing that that new artists are going to come up with an art style so revolutionary the AI machines absolutely need it, that's just a weak argument, my man. And I'm not saying this in favor of AI or hopeful that this is the case. I'm saying this this is what I fear. And if there's legislation to prevent companies just plugging the AI machine into the internet and just churning out art from that, then you'll be right. And I hope that happens. And again, I feel weirded out that I'm pro a regulation here, but that is something that should be regulated. AI should have laws preventing it from so easily overtaking a complete field of talent and of ability. So I just don't agree that that would be enough of an argument for a company, especially companies that are already taking lazy avenues as it is with the current technology. You give them an AI so functional that its art is indistinguishable from an artist that's drawn from the ground up from a talented artist. Why the hell wouldn't you just plug it in the internet? The only way you wouldn't is if the internet wasn't available or if there's a law against it. That's the only two, and even then they would try and bend the rules if there's a loophole. That's it.
The only way I can see something like that would essentially be for them to essentially brand the product with having had a human touch. But even then, we know for a fact that companies are not indisposed to lying about that. So, if anything, that would more likely be used by individual artists to say, hey, you know, I made something, but I made this myself. This is made by a human. This is good stuff. But even then, can you be? Even then, the trust thing. The trust thing comes up. So, and why can and then you maybe just and what's stopping some rando from essentially? Oh, I like this art style. I'll have an AI. Then I'll have this be copied by an AI and just make that. Just have it make the stuff made this way that I like, and not and essentially just have to pay this guy once to get the stuff. So I doubt anything like that is likely to last.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's a huge gray area, and if they do legislate it, I have a feeling they're gonna have to be very specific, and the law loves being vague. But if they're going to legislate it, which they, again, I hate to advocate for it, but if they should, in regards to AI, and if they do, they need to be very specific. There needs to be a lot of specifications. There needs to be a lot, and again, I'm not pro like preventing AI. I think there's a place for AI and AI art, AI, like these AI tools have a place, but their place shouldn't be where humans are standing. They shouldn't be replacing artists. They shouldn't be replacing actors. They shouldn't be replacing construction workers. We shouldn't see any replacing wholesale is. And I get a cope of all this, and a hope. It's a hope and a cope a little bit. Is that okay? Like ethically, like people won't go that far. Like they'll have an in-house AI and they'll hire artists and they'll feed the AI that way. That way they'll keep people in the loop. But that is assuming the company would prioritize ethics and morals of keeping humans in the loop of processes over making money and spending less to do so. And I'm sorry, but I am really happy to see so much hope in humanity that you guys think, okay, yeah, they do that. I don't have that.
We need to be realistic, though. We need to be realistic.
Yeah.
We have been shown the evidence of the contrary quite often.
All throughout human history. And that's my concern. The only way we're going, and it's not even 100% guarantee, but it's better than nothing, is if there is legal legislation. And you make a good point, Scarfy. Legislation may not apply to all countries. True. But within the countries that are the biggest for game development right now, there absolutely should be. Now, countries like China, the moment they can throw a worker out that they don't need to AI generate something, they're gonna fucking do it immediately. Other places like Russia, Ukraine, that are already known for a lot of like recasts for stuff and like bootlegging stuff, they're immediately gonna jump on the tools if they can like pump out video games or pump out comic books or pump out all sorts of media with a push of a button. They're gonna jump on all of it, and they're gonna be happy to plug it to the internet, and they're gonna be happy to do it without artists involved. And Deli, welcome to the stream. Missed the start legislation talk about AI or leaks. Technically, like, it's both. each caller I've been asking about the state of the gaming industry, which has led to I brought up AI as a potential like concern I have with the future of the industry. And that's kind of been a huge point with the last couple of callers. But we've been talking about both. For each caller I've spoken to about both elements, like all my open mics. But is there anything else you wanted to say, man? Or
No, not really. But I have a bit of a question that is largely unrelated, but it has to do with Warhammer.
okay, yeah, sure. Go ahead and ask.
If you had a chance to rewrite the fall to chaos of any of the traitor Primarchs, which one would you choose?
Rewrite from the entire ground up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Angron.
That's as much you want to.
I would completely rewrite Angron's background. Without hesitation. He is, in my opinion, the worst written. In the case of, because he's got so fucking little written about him. Like, other Primarchs, there's something. Now, people would say, oh, what about the Gorgon? I don't have as much of an attachment to even the concept. With Angron, there's a concept there that is strong, that had potential. The anger, the revenge, the fury. And some elements of his background worked, but the broad strokes of the story, so flawed. There's so many issues, so many details after that don't make sense. And the simplicity overall, I have a huge problem with. I would have really liked a lot more detail and a lot better of a background for him. So, Angron. I would 100% rewrite Angron.
That's fair. If you had just mentioned the fact that Big E just pulled him out instead of killing everybody that was trying to kill one of his greatest living weapons, and thus likely irrevocably making damaging relations with that weapon, that alone I feel is justifiable enough to say, yeah, I would rewrite that.
Yeah, and the biggest issues I have with the story, like the stuff with the Emperor and him not seeing a problem with what he did and pulling out only Angron when he had the power to pull out more, like it's all so stupid. If you would ask me to say, hey, if you could rewrite a small element of it, I still would have a lot of problems with it. But if I could rewrite just one element, I would rewrite that it wasn't the Emperor who picked up Angron. It was Malkador, because the move that's pulled with just pulling Angron out and stuff, I could see Malkador doing that. Still be flaws with that, but that's better than Big E being like, yeah, I'm just gonna pull him out, and this guy's a raging fucking lunatic with these nails in his fucking head, and I'm not gonna have any problems with this. This will work out.
For me, I likely a bit more personal because I personally like the Legion in general, but I have over time I'm seeing more and more flaws with how the story is written, how that fall is written. It is Lorgar that I would pick.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. But then it's not the whole story. It's just some I would prefer to remove some details, but there's some things I would change and some things that I would just outright remove or not have be. On that, which primarily is them tricking the custodies. Because fuck no, they can't. I don't care. They can't.
Hey, fair enough on that one. Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate the conversation and your responses. I really do. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Have a good one. All right. Dilly. There we go. And Dilly, I mean, unwriting the cluster cluck Black Library dude was just making the story worse. Where the Emperor Shosef behaved out of character, teleported bro away from Emperor saved Angron, but he bears a grudge against Emperor. The Emperor, for possibly do the nails, is such a writer. Didn't even bother looking into the character's moment. Yeah, again, like Angron's writing got completely fucked, and that again, it's such a disappointment to me that even like again, a lot of people would argue the Gorgon, right? That Ferris Manus, because he has so little, deserves a rewrite just on the basis of giving him something, like giving him his own story, his own details, and that's fair. But for me, it's just I look at Angron and I see such a good character they could have had, such a good justification of anger and a tragic story there where there's just a misunderstanding that leads to this bitter hatred. Like something like there was potential there with some of the through line, but they just bungled it and just said, "Nah, he's just an angry fucking psychopath," and it's justified because the Emperor didn't act like himself at all. Even though we're talking about the Emperor, who has a lot of variations in his behavior, but that for me is one of the most out of character moments in the lore. That's just so stupid. So it was a real problem. All right, pulling in the next caller. Yo, can you hear me? You're still muted. You muted yourself. You need to unmute yourself. All right, can you hear me? Okay. If you're on Android, sometimes, for some reason, Discord, like if you get pulled into a call, Android will like lock out your mic from the chat. So, can you tell me if you're on Android or not? If it's not Android, it might be on your end for like your mic or your input. You're on Android. Okay, so the solution to this then is I'm going to hang you up, and I'm going to give you a temporary guest status so you can see the chat and just jump in manually. Because if you jump in manually, it doesn't have the same problem. So I'll hang you up. Before I do, I'll give you the role, guest, and disconnect. All right, so just rejoin manually to the call. And it should be fine.
You know?
There we go. Now I can hear you.
Finally, brother.
Hey, good to see you. How you doing?
Hey, good. I'm starting to go to school for graphic design.
Awesome.
I'm doing mainly 3D for Skyrim mods, mainly weapon mods, but I'm shifting into concept art. What is really funny because you're talking about AI now, what I appreciate because I think it doesn't matter. It's the creativity.
I can't agree it doesn't matter. But I'm glad you're not worrying yourself about it.
But yeah, I also pimped my PC out. I have a 4090, a Radeon 790 XTX, a Ryzen 7 700. Basically, I pimped it out for school.
Of course, for school.
Yeah, they will know my 3D design. Dude, you know what? There are only chicks. There are only chicks in my school.
Really?
Yeah.
In graphics design?
Yeah.
And by the way, my surprise isn't due to the abundance of women, it's the lack of men. Like, there's no men interested in graphics design.
Excuse me?
Like, you said it's all women, right?
Yeah.
There's no men interested other than you?
Yeah.
That's so weird to me. Like when I went to my 3D course, it wasn't 50-50. It was like for every 3 guys there was a girl in the class.
Yeah, but it's in Germany, and Germany is mainly like Electrician.
Huh. Very
Well,
culturally different
it's
on that front.
funny because they don't know shit about like creativity. They showed me like their work because they think it's like they have to have it for the school to like show it the teacher. It looks like kindergartner art.
I mean, to be fair, they're learning, you know? Like, hopefully the teacher's
Yeah,
being
yeah, of
honest and
course.
telling them, like, hey, you know, there's some issues with this, you know? Like, my teacher was great about it. It's like, if you present, like, there was some stuff that was presented to him that was certainly subpar, but he took it in stride, and that's what you should. And you say, okay, listen, this is not a terrible start, but you should, you know, do this, you should do that. Like, you know, you do little fix-ups.
Last thing, so I pulled up a 3D printed Vindicator, showed it to my teacher, and he immediately said, "You have a 3D printer? Can I commission something from you?" I said, maybe.
That's how you get A's.
I know, I know.
It's like I
And the
don't
chick,
need money,
I
but
swear the chicks
my
looked so
quarterly should
angry.
look pretty good.
So I may or may have not multiple Vindicators I can give you.
Fantastic. 3D purchase for the win. All right,
Yeah, it's a
so
win.
in regards to the topics for today, so have you seen the Space Marine links, and if so, what are your thoughts? Has it given you some confidence in the game?
You mean the the Ukrainian leaks, whatever? You mean that?
The game as a copy of the game was leaked. So have you seen
Yeah,
any footage of it? Did you download it and play it?
no, I didn't
Okay.
because I don't want to spoil myself. I look forward to buying it.
Okay. So you didn't even need it to feel confident in it. You didn't have any doubts?
Oh, I am waiting for reviews.
Okay.
Cyberpunk taught me a lot, and in general, gaming companies today are a total piece of shit.
Oh yeah.
But you can trust them. They pump out a trailer. What is not representing the game, by the way, it's for the
Anthem
most
taught
part
me
not
that one.
even it's not even mostly from the same company, the trailer, from what the stuff I heard. So it's funny that people like decide to buy because they see essentially a pre-rendered piece of art.
Well, that's actually what's like the big benefit of the leak of the build is it's not, you know, you're not relying on the advertisement or an ad to be accurate. You get to hold the product in your hand. It's basically a big ass demo where people got to
Yeah.
play the game and see what it really was. And I, again, for what I saw, that actually gave me some confidence.
I mean, they delayed it, and that can't be good news. Also, like for people that pre-ordered it and got the beta access, whatever, they just gave you a weapon skin. Like, how lame
Yeah,
can
that
you
was lame.
be? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, especially if you buy like the Ultimate Edition, they give you a bunch of Ultramarine like aesthetic stuff, which I don't fucking like Ultramarine, so that is not a draw.
I don't like the Smurfs either.
All right, so for you, haven't seen the leaks, haven't affected your view. You're still waiting for a review. Is the general?
Oh, it affected me. By the way, the pre-order, the delayed pre-orders. I mean, the delay of the game that influenced my buying decision a lot.
Okay, so that made you even more hesitant, or
Yep,
gotcha.
definitely. That's why I'm waiting.
Okay, fair enough.
Also, that trans rider, like that can't be good news. Like, I'm not saying it in a homophobic way, by the way. I'm saying I saw her Twitter, like she shits on white people.
Yeah. The writer gave me a lot of concern, but they fired her. I don't know how
Yeah,
I
you
don't know how
say that,
early,
but
but
how much did she write? That's the thing.
yeah, we don't know. Well,
Yeah.
I've heard it from two people who played the whole leaked version, which is supposed to be a build of the whole game. So they've played the whole game effectively, and they've reported that there's no woke elements to the writing. It's very loyal to the setting. And in regards to Bo, like Bo, I would trust to be a pretty good measurement of that. So if he's played the whole game as he's implying, I would trust that. Not trust it so much that I'm gonna buy it day one or even pre-order it. I'm gonna wait for a review, probably from Nostalgia Vivek, to be honest. But it's enough to make me like actually perk my ears up and be like, okay, there's hope for this.
Wouldn't it be crazy if there's like dialogue and it essentially is Captain Titus, grab me my makeup case. So what the fuck?
I mean, that would be funny. Like if it was that blatant, like that would be memeable.
And then immediately it shifts to traditional 40k writing. It's like, who you fired her here? I know it.
That would be a pretty good measurement. It's like, okay,
That would
we can
honestly,
we can directly pinpoint when they fired her.
honestly, if they did that, I swear to God, I would take it as a joke on like, yeah, we're not woke, and I it would my review would be good for them.
All right, so we got that out of the way. So what's your feelings on the gaming industry as a whole right now?
Dog shit.
All right, fair enough.
It's pure, unfiltered. Actually, dog shit with makeup because they're trying to hide it. I mean, look at World of Warcraft.
Oh god. Do I have to?
Blizzard swore to essentially less woke with rehiring. Fuck, I forgot his name. Like the fraud voice.
Oh,
PC.
Ian Metson?
Yeah, Metzen. No, Thrall's voice
Ian. I think
actor.
it's Ian. Chris Metzen. Why did I say Ian?
Chris
Like I knew that was wrong. Chris Metzen. What the fuck?
Chris Metzen. When I heard that, I was immediately hooked because when he was writing the lore, okay, the Pickle Jesus Thrall was interesting to say the least.
Oh god.
However, the lore was good with him.
Yeah.
And then the trailer dropped a black elf, half elf with a missing arm, and she's a lead, like she's a descendant of a important character. Immediately, I was like, oh, not this shit again. You know?
I haven't seen the latest stuff, so if that's from like a late, I dropped out. Like technically, I dropped
Yeah, I
out with
dropped out
Shadowlands,
also.
but I came back very temporarily for Dragonflight just to see where it was at, and it was very disappointing.
My point is, even in Dragonflight, the ending was it's essentially the family meme.
Yeah, I saw a clip of how it ended, and it was like a very Avengers moment, and it was so what made it especially stupid. At least the clip I saw, I don't know if it was the very end. I figured it wasn't,
It was like,
but it's like
wait,
Alex.
guys. It was like, wait, guys, I think we are like family.
It's yeah, God. Like I miss when Warcraft had teeth. Like when it could like go dark. Like I remember Warcraft 3 where freaking
It
Grom.
was dark.
Yeah, like the end of the campaign, one of the Orcish campaign for Frozen. It was either Frozen Throne or Reigns of Chaos, but when Grom sacrifices himself to kill Manoroth,
Reigns of Chaos.
it is so fucking like that emotionally hits you because you saw his degeneration, you saw everything through Thrall's eyes and their relationship, and it was so brutal.
By the way, you remember the Gnolls?
The Gnolls, yeah,
You remember their tents?
yeah,
You know what the tents were made of?
human skin,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It
And the
was
shit
brutal. It was brutal shit.
PG-13. The shit was for PG-13.
Yeah, and now it's just same problem I had with like Overwatch started
They
out
lost
this
their
way, but
balls, dude.
yeah, they lost any
lost their
teeth.
balls.
They lost any teeth. They
But
defanged themselves.
Actually, they replaced the old guys because the old guys were fed up with all the dumb shit the executives and the shareholders wanted them to do, essentially shoehorn their agenda. I swear to God, shoehorn their dumb agendas, their dumb practices, and like 3% of the original devs were at the end there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. In the case of WoW, like we can track like in that regard how it fell apart. With newer
Or we can
games with
also
newer
pinpoint-
teams, they have no excuse for the lack of creativity or the lack of it's just shameful where everything's going.
And Warhammer Fantasy is a better World of Warcraft at this point. I mean, it was always a better World of Warcraft, in my opinion. It could be also a copy, if you ask me. I'm not so sure.
Oh, do you mean
about
the
copy.
MMO?
No. I mean, Warhammer Fantasy and World of Warcraft. What's better?
Oh, you mean
Warhammer
like
Fantasy
you
is
mean like
much better.
thematically or quality, right?
No, yeah, everything.
Okay, in terms of quality, absolutely Warhammer Fantasy. Like, even though I don't know the most about it, what I do know of it is pretty good.
Oh, I'm a long-time fantasy fan, actually.
I'm not as much. I don't know as much. 40K is my shtick. I know more about Warcraft than I do about Warhammer Fantasy.
Fun story. Games Workshop likes to copy stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm very well aware.
World of Warcraft copied essentially Warhammer Fantasy.
Oh yeah, I'm fully aware. I'm fully aware. Like like StarCraft is just 40K, but legally distinct copyright. I know that they had a deal with in regards to the first Warcraft Orcs and Humans. I did a video on my gaming channel where I reviewed it, and I brought up the fact that the devs behind it at the time, Chris Metzen included, they mentioned that a huge inspiration for the game's art style was Warhammer Fantasy. So they fully acknowledge where they stemmed their ideas from.
You know what a Games Workshop employee, like a big guy in the company, said? Yeah, orcs were essentially the World of Warcraft orcs were essentially inspired by our orcs, and like you never read Tolkien. You obviously read Tolkien because you ripped him off. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
I mean, the thing is, GW's always done that, where they, despite the fact that they've straight up stolen like everything in their universes from something else, and I don't want to diminish the creativity it took to put those things in a cohesive way together. That's where the talent of GW is they took a bunch of the core ideas and even names of things from other things, and then they filled in the gaps to make them work together. Like that,
I mean, it
and
worked.
especially in the early days. Like, I'm talking early days. I don't mean like currently. Like,
Yeah.
but back when they first conceptualized stuff like 40K and Warhammer Fantasy.
They did good stuff, like with Norska, with the Vampire Coast, Vampire Count.
Yeah, but all of that you can stem from other things. Like the vampires, you can stem that from Bram Stoker. Literally every like core thing in Warhammer, both 40K and Fantasy, is taken from something else. And in some cases, like Lasguns for 40K and the Imperium of Man, blatantly stolen. Like, not even subtle. So
From what?
They've definitely stolen nearly every core pillar of both their big franchises, but the creativity was in how they filled in the gaps between the ideas and made them their own.
Oh yeah, by the way, the Henry Cavill show. It seems that Amazon has to cancel it because they don't know how to.
Unconfirmed. That's rumor.
No.
No, that is rumor.
Art-
That is
Art-
rumor. Like, we don't have
Arch
confirmation.
has a guy in the inside.
Yeah, but Arch
and
didn't report that they have definitively canceled it. I've seen, unless there's a video that just got uploaded that I've missed. But if we're talking about Arch's
no.
last video, I watched it.
I mean, I
Arch
saw it in his
himself did not
Discord.
confirm or
I
deny
saw
it.
it in his Discord.
I'm in his Discord. I haven't seen it.
Oh wait, no. I take it back. I take everything back. I heard brain fart.
Yeah, like we have no, as of now, we have no definitive 100% confirmation they have canceled it. What we have, I know Endymion reported that specific line, but as far as
No. Yeah, I heard that too, but that's not what I got it from. So basically, like they don't know how to write the Warhammer story.
Oh yeah, they
Henry
definitely
Cavill-
don't know. They definitely have no idea.
Yeah, and Henry Cavill is not pleased, I don't know from where I got it again. Not Arch. You're right.
Probably Endymion, because I don't know if you watch him, but that would be my guess. Because
I,
as far as I know,
he's in my feed. Yeah, he's in my feed.
yeah, as far as I know, he's the only one who said the words like they've canceled it. Everywhere else,
No, no.
including with the information he got from, doesn't say. Excuse me. Doesn't say definitively they have canceled it. They're going back to talks. So any progress they made, they've reversed, and now they're back to negotiations between GW and Amazon. It's not as of yet canceled.
You know how I imagine the show will be like. So Henry Cavill, awesome guy. He sits down, essentially plans this whole D&D campaign tabletop, and then like the DEI hire has no idea, like is like the daughter of a investor, and she's like, yeah, what are you gonna do now?
I hope he would leave the project if that kind of shit happened.
Imagine babysitting them like in the show. Like, what the fuck is this? Is not
That's
professional
gonna
anymore.
be the biggest part of his job is babysitting and trying to make things work. I don't envy the
Yeah,
position he's in.
guy hires.
Yeah. So thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
It was really good to talk to you. I'm gonna pull in my
Yep.
last caller and I'm gonna wrap up the stream. But thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yep. Bye.
Hey, have a good one. All right, last caller, folks. Leonard Church says, Asmogan, a funny idea is ranking all the IPs from rank all the IPs from most to least abused. The Star Wars and Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, 40K, etc. Just as much as one can. I feel like that would be a fun video. It's like, hey, who's been fucked up the ass the most? Like, do a tier list. I mean, that could be fun, but it's not an enviable task because that'd be depressing to do because you just have to think about every violation as you do it. It's like, okay, who's been violated the least? We'll probably be safe in terms of gameplay. Only thing left is the script to stay on point with the lore. Yeah, with Space Marine 2. It's gameplay wise, it looks very, very good. And Bo giving confidence with the lore, again, like a lot of that really gives me hope. I'm still at a point where I'm going to wait for Space Marine 2 to come out. I'm going to pull my last caller, and then we'll wrap things up, folks. But thank you all for being such amazing people. Thank you all so much for coming in and talking. Love you guys as always. And also, thank you guys so much for liking the stream. I greatly appreciate it. Always helps with pushing the algorithm so more people can come in, more conversations can be had. It's always great. All right, pulling in. If my damn mouse will work. There we go. All right, Metronid. Can you hear me?
Hi, good afternoon, Asmo.
Good afternoon to you too. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you very much. I'm just listening to your stream.
Very, very good. Thank you. So, what are your thoughts on the Space Marine 2 leaks? Have you seen them? Have they affected your opinion whether you're going to get the game or not? Where are you at?
Since I was gaming, I always kept away from the leaks because I think they always present in an incomplete picture. And just previously, as has been mentioned, that the leak this time was a build from the beginning of the year.
Right.
It's something that's still a work in progress.
Right, but one thing I will confront with that is the story-wise, like game development-wise, it was earlier in the year, yes, but the game's coming out next month. So that build is only 6 months shy of launch, meaning there shouldn't be too many massive deviations between what the leak of the build of the game is and what comes out on release. Realistically speaking, the most that they can do in that time frame, they're not going to do any like fundamental changes. Like the gameplay fundamentals of that leak are still going to be in the game. There's no way they're going to upheave that in that time. Likewise, the story. The story is not going to 6 months out from launch. There's no way they're going
Yes,
to
they're not going to rewrite the ending and such.
that stuff is all reliable from the leak. The everything else, yes, tongue tied, is suspect to shifting. So, yeah.
I'm going to be a contrarian here.
Oh, fair enough.
I don't think that the ending of the original game, Space Marine, as it stands, is in keeping with the lore, and anything after the defeat of Nemeroth is just conjecture. So, in this regard, disregarding that the Space Marine 2 is Primaris stuff.
I will not
based
spoil
on-
something I know, but I will say can't even say that. I don't want to spoil you, so I will have to. Unfortunately, I can't respond to that. I can respond to the point of it being like whether it's lore accurate, but one thing to denote about the first Space Marine game is GW themselves have said that is like a parallel universe. So the Space Marine game is in itself a kind of parallel universe to ours, and the whole reason they did it is because they were trying to explain away why I can't remember the Space Marine character's name, but the captain of the second company in the official lore isn't Titus and wasn't Titus before the game came out, but in the game came out,
Yes,
Captain Titus. So they already had to explain away the issue there.
Yes,
So-
yes, I know that. I'm. It's clear to me. I read these explanations from GW, just like I read the explanations that yes, everything is canon, but since we are thinking about CS Goto and what he brought to the Black Library, and also how to explain away that bullshit. I'm just thinking. How to put it in a concise manner. I don't think that fuck. Sorry.
No, you're right. You're right.
So I'm going to be the Grognar again, and thanks for both for this moniker. I don't care about anything that happened past 7th edition. I don't think that's conducive to the setting. That's conducive to the game in general.
I would agree with you actually.
To the game in general. So, Space Marine 2, it comes out. It looks nice. It has either Vogue components or no Vogue components. It has either a story that's in keeping with the majority of the lore or not. It's just another feather to a multimedia empire that GW is trying to build, and it's also one more step away from the core that should be the focus to a wider picture, to an appeal to a mass market audience. So in this respect, I don't care about the game. It's nice.
I think that's perfectly reasonable. That's perfectly fair.
It's nice to look at, but just looking at the present state of the gaming industry, it's just like the tabletop industry. The hardcore nerds that effectively built the space have been either bullied out or bought out or aged out from the scene. And what we have left in every aspect are just wannabe pretenders who grew up watching Big Bang Theory and think that it's funny and it's quirky to be a nerd, and it's trendy to be a nerd, and they are just pretending.
I would agree for the most part.
And what do you disagree with?
I just said I agree.
For the most part.
Right. Nothing significant. I wouldn't.
So we are just splitting hairs on minutia.
Well, if you want, I can go into the minutia, but nothing significant of what you just said. I disagreed with.
Mm-hmm. That's great to hear. And since I can't really talk about my expectations for Space Marine 2 because, strictly speaking, my current PC is about 10 years old. I have no problem running the last Batman game, the Arkham Knight, at max resolution and with everything on. But I doubt that I would be able to run the newest, horribly optimized piece of software that comes out in a month.
Yeah, like I said, like my prediction for its minimum specs, and I think I'm being generous, is 2060, 2070.
Yes.
It looks, from the leaks I saw, the graphics are very detailed, and it's not just textures. It's very clearly the polygons. So
yes,
there's but that aside, there's one thing I wanted to note when it comes to the excitement or the interest in the game. I don't think a lot of people are interested or excited in the game necessarily because they think it's going to add to the 40K lore. I mean, I would hope not. I would hope anybody who's a fan of 40K and has been a fan for any significant period of time would understand that the lore right now, especially, is dog shit, and it's the old stuff that's good. It's solid. Like, I would agree with you. 7th edition was my favorite edition, and that's the good lore. Right when it comes to the video games, you should never expect it to be a add to the lore. It should never be seen as even the best representation of the lore. That should never be an argument. Like, as much as I love bolt action, right? Is that accurate to how Space Marines fight? Not 100%. Not at all. It's fun as hell, but it's not really that.
It should be in keeping with the lore.
Yeah, it should be. But this is the argument I'll make for video games that do deviate from it to an extent, is if you made 100% lore accurate of a game, it would be extremely fun, but it would be kind of chaotic. Now,
oh yes,
it would be.
Yes, I mean, just thinking back the old Dawn of War 2 games. The simple Dawn of War games would be a bloodbath from Space Marines, or your PC would crash because it would have to compute that many guardsmen or that many orc walking through the doing things.
Dawn of War 1 was so much fun. It's still a fun game, especially if you have the Apocalypse mod. But, yeah, like when it comes when it comes to the video games, what I'm after, and I think what a lot of people are after, is less so like an accurate representation of lore, which would be preferred and would be really cool. But I think a lot of people are just, they want to play a game set in their favorite setting that reminds them of the good stuff, that makes you think of the good lore. Again, not it itself being the best representation of it, but like it gets you immersed in that stuff that you do love from the books. It makes you think of the books. It makes you think of your favorite codex from 7th edition or 6th edition, or makes you think of your favorite, like the Flight of the Eisenstein. You want something that immerses you enough. Again, not necessarily.
Yes,
it would be preferred if it did 100%, but enough to kind of get you in there.
But this was the strength of the Dawn of War series.
Oh, absolutely.
Up to the third one that we are not talking about, because they created their own chapter that was later incorporated into the lore from 4th edition onwards, the Blood Ravens, and they haven't been using established chapters to effectively have an easy win and an easy in with the fan base.
Yeah. So, yeah, my brain. So with this Space Marine stuff, so if the game comes out as fully functional and isn't, filled with any kind of propaganda or anything, are you interested in getting it for any kind of gameplay or anything? Or are you just like, I don't care at all, no interest?
I have some interest, but again, first I have to first I have to upgrade the PC,
Right.
and this interest comes after that. I, in some aspect, I still looking forward to it because pulping orcs in the first Space Marine was fun. The combat was fun, and looking back and thinking back, it would be a good time again, I think, to experience that, but this time going to purple goo instead of green goo. And also, if there is a possibility that there is multiplayer, there is squad-based multiplayer or something like that, and it's not just a carbon copy of I don't know, Overwatch or something like that, or Fortnite or some online platformer, then it would be also a welcome addition. But that's the thing I don't see surviving for a long time, because that would necessitate either a loot box system or a battle pass system to keep the interest going from the publisher.
One thing, and I would have preferred them to just use the same system the first game had when it comes to like the cosmetics and stuff. But I definitely think they're going to use a battle pass system. That is my prediction for the multiplayer. As for the gameplay of the multiplayer, I don't think they're gonna do like an Overwatch. At least I hope not. I think that is where they're gonna try and emulate the first game. So there's gonna be a death match where you can like play Tyranids v Space Marines or Chaos Space Marines versus Space Marines. I think they're also going to do a PvE multiplayer where you go squad up with a bunch of guys and there's like a survival mode. I think that's what they're gonna do. I hope so, because that could be really, really fun.
I mean, a PvE would be, I think, better in this regard, because how do you power level a Space Marine versus a Tyrannid? How do you... And we are thinking about either Gaunt's or Warriors or Tyrants, or how do you do evolution with a Tyrannid character in multiplayer? Because the species are effectively set, and in this regard, evolutionary dead ends, because the new iterations come out not from the existing pool of creatures, but from the birthing sac. So that seems tricky to me.
It would be. Obviously, they're going to make concessions from the lore to make the gameplay functional, especially for the multiplayer. Well, I have no exact like pinpoint predictions on that one. So that one's up in the air for like a guesswork. Matty DeWell says it's going to be, or he says it's 6v6 PvP, it more like first game. So I'm assuming you're saying it is that, or is that a rumor? Because I don't know off the top of my head what they've said the PvP will be, or sorry, what the multiplayer will be. It is that. Okay, so part of the multiplayer is going to be 6v6 PvP, which was in the first game, so that could be very fun.
Then we can expect Space Marine, Chaos Space Marine, Tyrannid Warriors, because the Gaunts would be just fodder in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gaunts and Termagants, Hormagants, total fodder.
Yes. But I would be interested to see Orc Knobs, because that would
be so
lean the other
be
way.
So fun, and they better not fucking like that. I'll tell you this: there will be if they lock like. Because the game comes out and there's like, okay, we're gonna have on launch, we're gonna have Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines available, and Tyranids. But if they chose to later be like, okay, we're gonna include other races into the PvP like Orcs and Eldar and Dark Eldar, but they do it behind DLC or a battle pass, which is worse, I'll be so fucking pissed.
Yes, I mean, to me, this killed Overwatch 2 be in its infancy. The characters behind paywall in a unrealistically grindable battle pass.
Yeah, I would hate a battle pass. I'd be totally fine if it was like the first game where you can grind it out and there's like the set items, but they don't
Mm.
over like in the first game. For those who remember, for the multiplayer, it was achievement based. So like in multiplayer, if you did things and you earned enough experience with like your classes and your builds and stuff, that you could use that as the in-game currency, not a elite currency, an in-game currency to buy quote unquote unlock cosmetics. And I don't think they're gonna do that. I think they're gonna do battle pass, unfortunately, but that
Mhm.
would be the ideal. Actually, real
Yes.
quick, I will be right back. I have to run to the bathroom.
Okay.
My apologies. Sorry. It's just
No
I've been
problem.
going for a while. Ugh. So sorry about that.
No problem.
I meant to hold it till I ended the stream, but all right, there we go. Okay, so we got your responses on the Space Marine stuff. What about the state of gaming as a whole? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's burning, and it's going to burn for the foreseeable future before it collapses in and of itself, and then maybe something from the ashes will be rebuilt by dedicated individuals. But at present, the gaming studios that produce these AAA, quadruple A, double A titles are beholden to not their fan bases, not the gamers in general, but investments firms and what is BlackRock and Vanguard?
They're investment firms here in the U.S. They're extremely political, to say the least. But they invest in companies and en masse to make a profit off of a bunch of different investments. Then they
Yeah, I
take,
thought they have had a different name because just investment firm says Wikipedia. So
yeah,
so investment firms.
Yeah, BlackRock and Vanguard, they're both investment firms, but they're also companies that are
Ah.
very, very much pushing the political ideologies.
Asset manager funds, fund managers. That's what I was looking for. Because they have their funding from effectively the pension funds of the West.
Yeah,
So they have effectively unlimited money,
more or less. Yeah.
more or less. And these industries, so gaming, movies, so entertainment in general, these are in this regard loss leaders. They don't care that they are not making any money because they have the pension funds to fall back on. So they can finance this, and Larry Fink can have an aneurysm live on TV or live on an investment call that the people are pushing back and they are having losses. The pension funds will go to them because they are big and they have a big portfolio, and they have a track record of producing returns on investments. So, I mean, just look at it came up before during these 2 hours, just on 2.5 round. Just look at look at Rocksteady, what they shit out as the successor of the Batman Arkham games. Nobody was interested in that. Nobody asked for it, and the first reactions to not just leaks but advertisement was negative, that it was not needed, but it had the money behind it. They made it, and they tanked their brand, but it's out there. You can't unmake a shitty sequel. Just ask Star Wars.
Yeah. Star Wars is
So
burning.
So it will burn.
Yeah.
It will burn. Just look at D&D, or look at Wizard of the Coast. D&D is continuing to burn.
Yeah, didn't they do just something recently too?
Yes, they removed every and all racial modifiers. So right now, if you choose a race, for example, a half-orc, your stats are effectively the same as a human character.
That's so fucking boring. Thank God it's D&D too, because no one's gonna do that. Like, everyone's gonna ignore that entirely.
Everyone is going back to 3.5 because or earlier.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, everything is becoming that gray sludge, that gray goo in entertainment, and I think present day hobbies that are new to the any kind of creative hobby either don't have the resources or don't have the connections to effectively know what to look for and know what is detrimental to the game, and in some respect, and this might sound harsh, they don't have the, how to put it less harshly, they don't have the capacity to look for alternatives to the presently easily available options.
They're uncreative.
Yes,
And
yes, we can
afraid
say
to take
that.
risks.
I would say that not just uncreative, but they are limited in some respect, in some regard, when it comes to effectively looking for what you, not looking for, but knowing what you're interested in, because they are bombarded with the same gray sludge everywhere. And if you find something that's slightly different to you, that might be good enough for you, and you are not going to dig for gold when you have some copper.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty spot on, I'd say, for how things are and how things are gonna be for a while. I have hope on just one front in regards to the future. It's not with AAA, obviously. AAA is doomed. AA, there's some, like, thankfully, because it's not AAA, there's still some room for them to make something good. I mean, they did with a couple of AA games, but it is, for the most part, AA is falling into the same issues as AAA. And the indie market is where I have some hope, like, because a lot of indie games, not all of them are made in the U.S., so they're not being touched stock market wise by Vanguard or BlackRock. They're being made elsewhere. We have developers like the people behind Kingdom Come Deliverance. Like, there's still hope for games that are being made still, that are going to be, if not amazing, at the very least good. So that'll get us through the burning of the AAA and the AA industry for the meantime. And of course, there's, as I mentioned earlier, there's the backlog of pre-existing games on Steam. Like, go ahead and play the old. If you don't like the modern Call of Duty, go ahead and play the old school. Like, there's Modern Warfare 2, the old version, World at War. All that's still like on Steam. You can play it right now. Nothing's stopping you. If you don't like Stormgate, like I don't like Stormgate, you can go back and play StarCraft 2 for free. You can go and play even better RTS. You can play Age of Empires 2. Like, as much as like it might sound really hopeless when we talk about like the future of the AAA industry and how bad it is going to be for a while, at the end of the day, there are older games we can go back to in the meantime. And someone said in the chat earlier, I apologize, I didn't respond to it, but I'll kind of to respond to it now. Someone said, but there's only so much you can play older games before you want something new. That's true, but the thing is, I doubt anyway, that there's a person out there who's played every game from 2006, who's played every game from 2010, who's played every game from that better era. There is a game, like, for example, just recently, I played Titan Quest. That game is from in the early 2000s. I had no idea it existed, and I was informed of it, and now I'm playing it, and to me, it's like playing a new game. And I think that's going to apply to a lot of people. So if you are, like Metronid, or like me, or anybody else who's getting sick and tired of like how bad things are, and you just can't contribute to it, you don't want to, and you're looking for an escape out of the live service crap and all that, old games are there, and it's not just the old games you played. Look for games you haven't from back in the day. Because that'll
Precisely. My latest gaming experience was replaying the 4 Arkham games, because however bad in parentheses Arkham Origins is, it's still a good game and a better game than what we have today. Yeah. And also, I'm pessimistic when it comes to human nature, and so far it never let me down. And I have a little bit of trepidation regarding the future of gaming, because what I see is present day players, present day gamers are interested in primarily good graphics and fast action, because they have an attention span socialized on TikTok, and other short platforms that propagate this quick succession of content. And these people, I think, won't be able to sit down, for example, and play through Fallout, the original one, or 2, or Tactics, or they wouldn't be able to play through New Vegas, because the first hurdle for them would be, why is everything a shade of brown? Why are the textures so blocky? And there is a diamond there that you don't need to polish. You just need to let go of your expectations regarding the graphic and just immerse yourself in the world. And I think,
like, a lot of modern gamers couldn't play Morrowind. Like, could not.
Yes.
Like, they would just, they'd load it up and immediately close out the game. They wouldn't be able to handle the graphics.
Or KOTOR, because they had to read the text. There isn't voiceover to narrate them what to do, how to do it, and also there aren't yellow painted thingamabobs to either climb on
hand
or
grabs for like climbing.
yes, or crates to break. So, but again, I think I have some optimism, because it takes some maturity to look beyond the surface level.
Yeah.
And if these people are truly interested in gaming, they will find these, and they won't go for the remasters, because every remaster is a downgrade in some aspect, or in all aspects.
The first one that comes to mind when you say remaster is Reforged, and that is a fucking disgrace.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and regarding gaming, Hogwarts Legacy came up, and I'm a huge Potterhead. I grew up with the books,
So did I.
and I think it has its woke, but it's subtle.
Yeah, and that's
not
what
just the innkeeper, but the Japanese Quidditch teacher, the Quidditch professor, the Nigerian divination professor or whatever, the Pakistani charms professor, the pupils in every shade of the rainbow. In an English school in Scotland in the end of the 19th century. How realistic is that?
Not at all.
And I'd say it's not at all.
But-
It's still, I think, great. It captures the atmosphere of the books, and it gave us a walkable, living, breathing Hogwarts. But it's a product of its time.
That is true. And I again, I agree with you. It's one of the only times I'll ever say like there was wokeness in a game that I could happily ignore and enjoy the game thoroughly. And
yes, because it could be ignored.
Yeah, they exactly.
I wasn't forced to interact with.
It wasn't like a lot of it is nowadays, where it's propaganda, where a huge part of the main story is slapping you in the face with it. They presented the world. They presented, their politics in the aspects of like this happens to be the way this is. This happens, but they don't force you to engage in it. They just let it be. And if you're going to put your politics in a game, that's how you do it. You don't slap your player in the face with it. You don't force them to engage with it. You just let it be. That's how you do it.
Yes, that's how you normalize it. It was inorganic, but it could be ignored. And in the next installment, that is, I think, inevitably coming in 2 or 3 years, it will be also there. But then it will be just the benchmark that the previous edition set.
Hopefully.
And they can push from there on.
Yep. All right.
And also regarding classics, there is a reason Tolkien is never going away, and it's always in the bestsellers. In the last month, I dropped a pretty penny on a pretty good looking edition of the Unfinished Tales, the Sons of Children of Húrin, and what was the third one? Let me check. Yes, the Fall of Númenor, I think, or Gondolin. So there is always value in going back to the classics, because just like waiting on Godot. Who was it waiting on Godot? Just a moment. Sorry, I'm Godot. Or was it Russian? The Russians in the 19th century are confusing and.
Okay.
It was a metaphor, but it works without the Russians. So in modern fantasy, in modern science fiction, everything can be linked back to Tolkien. I think.
No, I
Tolkien
would agree.
and
100%.
Tolkien and in some aspect, Moorcock and the Eric of Melniboné. Everything and everyone has been stolen from them. Transform in some way from Martin, who is going to be after he dies, he's going to be remembered as the biggest loser in this genre ever, to Warhammer. And these classics are timeless for a reason, and when you go back to them, you can always appreciate them, and you can find new ways to appreciate those that came after them. because they give you new aspects and new perspectives.
I would agree. I will make one defense of Martin, not as him as a man, because I don't respect him as a man. I do respect. I've read Game of Thrones. I've read Winds of sorry, not Winds of Winter. That's not even out yet. If it ever fucking comes out, you fat fuck. But like I've read 3 of the Game of Thrones books, and I've enjoyed them. They are actually well written, I would argue. Are they better than Tolkien? No. I will never, ever make that argument. They are not better than Tolkien, not even close. But for in a vacuum of their own writing and of their own story, I actually do quite enjoy the novels. And that's it's personal taste, to be fair. But I do think if he, I will say, I will agree with you, he will be remembered as the biggest fucking loser of this time if he doesn't finally finish it. If he does, I think he will be remembered in terms of outside the books as the biggest loser, but in regards to the books, I think he will be remembered fondly for the books in a vacuum. Assuming he doesn't completely fuck it up with the next one.
I think his writing style is antithetical to him finishing these stories, because I've read the last one that came out 10 plus years ago, and it was so wide-reaching, and it was going on 3 continents.
Yeah, I would agree that is the biggest.
I had a problem keeping up with the characters, and usually I don't have this problem. I had a problem remembering, okay, what this character was doing, because last I seen him was 200-300 pages before, in a 50-page chapter, and since then, I was in Essos, I was in Westeros, I was in I was Beyond the Wall, and okay, what happened? And I had to go back and okay, what happened? And also, not just the Winds of Winter, but the Dream of Spring. So, the Winds of Winter has been in progress for 10 plus years. What do you think? What are the odds that he would be able to finish his Dream of Spring?
And 0, to be honest.
And what are the odds that when he pulls Robert Jordan, it would be a successful, and his chosen successor would be able to finish it? I think also
negative.
0.
Can we go in the negative numbers? I'm gonna go in the negative numbers on that one. Admittedly, like that. Yeah, that's like I don't. As it stands right now, I don't think he's gonna finish the series. I mean, 10 years to finish a book when that's, and people will make the argument, he's been doing other stuff, like he's been the Elden Ring stuff, even though I quite frankly don't think he did more than bullet point the story. But you can make that argument, but he's a writer by trade. That's supposed to be his main job. You spend 10 years working on it. Like, I could see a writer taking 3 years on a novel. Okay, fine. 4 years, okay? Pushing it a bit much. 5 years, okay? That's taking a lot of time, but if it's a big book, plenty of story, plenty of detail, okay, fair enough. 10 years, there's no excuse. There's no, he's either not writing it, or he's writing 2 words, taking a 3-month vacation, coming back, writing 2 more words, leaving, taking another 6-month cocaine binge. Like, it's one of the
They're
two
throwing
scenarios.
up the script he's written so far because he doesn't like it at the moment.
Yeah, it's just, I don't see him finishing, and I don't trust his. I don't trust an understudy to finish. I've seldom seen understudies do good replacing their masters. Like, the only examples I can think of, the first one is the actor who played Uncle Iroh in Avatar: The Last Airbender. When he died, his understudy finished the series, and then did a couple of like his appearances in Legend of Korra. I actually think obviously this is a very different category. It's voice acting, but that's an example of an understudy doing well in their master's plays. The only writing example I can think of, very technically, Tolkien's son, who put together the Silmarillion, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was good. Outside of that, I can't think of anything. I can't think of a single time an understudy. Maybe actually no. Berserk wasn't that finished by the understudy, or was that finished by the original writer?
I don't know, unfortunately.
Yeah, on that front,
I'm not that involved with manga.
Assuming that is or was being done by the understudy. I've heard good things, so maybe that's an example, but that's it. Like someone else finishing a story written by somebody else, especially if they didn't write out the bones of it first before they died, I don't see it happening. Like it's
yes,
not
and
in any
this is
satisfying way.
And this is my biggest gripe with the Felix and Gotrek line.
Yeah.
Bear King was so fantastic. So gripping stories, and as time went on and as the Warhammer Fantasy storyline deteriorated into the end times, it went into the shits.
Yeah. Well,
but the good thing is we can always go back to the novels, to the stories that made the setting, that made us fall in love with either fantasy or 40k.
Yeah, I mean,
because they are available.
I've had that experience just recently. Lord Metalman recommended me the Caiaphas Cain series, which I hadn't read itself. I'd always read tangentially about Cain whenever I did like research for the lore for like a video or something. But actually sitting down and reading the books themselves, I've been reading it, and it is so good. Like I've been listening to the audio. I finished the first book for the Emperor, and now I'm on to the second book. And all I'm thinking when I listen to the audiobook at work is, God, I wish Lord Metalman was the one narrating this. I need that Scottish accent, because when I had him on for Super Base World to talk about it, like just listening to him, I miss
thick
that.
Scottish accent.
It's so it would fit so well. It would fit so well. But
yes.
Man, I want to thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for
thank you for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You're helping me end the open mic on a very high note, so thank you so much.
Anytime.
I hope you have a great rest of your evening or day. I'm not sure which it is where you're at. But...
Well, it's midnight, so
okay.
It's
you
night.
need to get some sleep. Have a great one. It was so good having you on. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Have a good one. All right, guys, that is my last caller, and we're coming to the end. I will end off on real quick responding to Leonard Church, who I saw at me. Don't worry, I saw. Let me real quick. Do you think Arch's speculation is right that if Games Workshop was burning, then they as a last ditch effort would do End Days from Fantasy, but with 40k Emperor coming back and everything? If they are burning, and if they do burn, I do think that the creative team behind it would absolutely want to do that. It depends on like how we talk burning here. If we're talking like all at once, like all the sales are just plummeting, everything's just failing, I think before the creative team could get a chance to finish it, I think the higher ups would try and sell the company. So it depends on the exact scenario, but I'd say generally I agree with that speculation. If as a last ditch, if it's a slow burn and they're trying to save the franchise and they're trying to prevent the final burn, or they're trying to prevent it going out, and it's less of a if it's like a Hail Mary and they are trying a Hail Mary, then yes, I would see them trying that. The problem is that Hail Mary would wrap up the universe for a lot of people. As it is, as Metronid just went over, and as me and a lot of other people are we're already giving up on the current timeline. Like, a lot of us are like, okay, 7th edition and onward, 8th edition and onward for some. It's like, okay, none of that's canon. Everything before it is true 40k lore, the true setting. We're not even fucking bothering with it. So they're already losing people in that capacity. But even if they brought those people back in just in the form of curiosity and where it's going to go, I don't think that Hail Mary wouldn't work to save it. Like that wouldn't work to save it. Would they try it? Maybe. Just to get that last bit of drum up of interest, just to get those last group of people buying the miniatures, just so they could get all those sales real quick. But that wouldn't save the company, because if they did end times for 40k, that's it. We already experienced end times for fantasy for a lot of people, and Age of Sigmar is not a replacement. So if that happened, I don't think they'd ever recover their numbers fully. Like people already don't accept the current stuff, like myself. So if they revamped the universe, restarted it with Warhammer 41,000 or whatever the fuck they would try, or I don't know, Space Sigmar, whatever the hell they try, it wouldn't be enough. Like they would still end up having to close their doors. Like whatever short-term success that would bring, it would be a lot. Don't get me wrong. Like there are plenty of people. Like if you say, "Oh, 40k is ending. It's the end times. It's all." They'd all flood in. They'd buy all the miniatures they can. They'd buy all like the latest codexes. They'd be like, "Oh shit, it's ending." People would absolutely jump on that. Unfortunately, people would certainly. But would that be anything to save the company? Would that be anything to long term keep it up? No. That would be a temporary jump up, just for them to plummet right back down. That would plateau them and then plummet. I don't think they'd ever get their core audience back. And no. So, I guess in the gist, I do agree with Arch. I just, depending on the scenario, I don't think they'd do that. But again, it's all very dependent on the details. But I do think that if they were in a slow burn, they would try that. It would get them in like one big all up front success, but then they would still just plummet right back down after the end times are wrapped up, and nobody would. Well, I won't say nobody. There's addicts out there. Obviously, you got Valric, you got other people like him. People would become flooding back, but I don't think they'd ever recover the numbers. I don't. Age of Sigmar, I don't think. Again, I don't know. This is just, I'm completely detached from that, but I don't think Age of Sigmar has fully properly replaced a fantasy in terms of popularity and in terms of numbers of people interested. I don't think that's happened. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't have the statistics. GW has them. I don't. But I don't think it did. And I don't think whatever they would revamp 40k into would do that. Especially 40k, because I think 40k is more popular overall. But that's me. But generally, I agree with Arch's theory. If it's a slow burn, I totally agree. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate everybody in the chat. I appreciate all my callers and people who came in to talk about all this. It's interesting getting everybody's perspective on not only the in a pocket issue of Space Marine 2, whether the leaks have brought some inspiration for people to be confident about the game. And it seems like that for some there is, for some it's just not a non-point. But it does seem for a good chunk of people, it was good to see the leaks, or good to give like that quality assurance. Certainly, it made me more confident about the game. But I'm still waiting for launch. I'm still waiting for reviews. Don't pre-order. That's my official recommendation, by the way. Don't pre-order. Do not pre-order. I cannot repeat this enough. It is a bad practice. It encourages bad practices. Don't do it. Do not pre-order. Even if you're 100% confident, wait till day one. Wait till day one. If you're absolutely 100% like, I need to get this game, then just get it day one. Please. For the love of God, don't pre-order. But yeah. It was good getting everyone's perspective on everything. Love you all so much. Thank you, guys. Insert Total Biscuits do not pre-order song here. Yes, thank you. Love you guys. See you guys in the next open mic. And I'm going to try and live right now, like real quick aside here for like content on YouTube. I know I've been really slow with uploads. I know the Voxwork podcast hasn't uploaded in a while. We haven't done a recording in a while. But by that same notion, there's an episode I have recorded that I need to edit. So I need to do that. But yeah, the summertime has just kept me busy. So just to denote it, I'm going to try and live stream for the remainder of the summer part of my job. At least twice a week. I'm trying to do that. That way there's still a flow of content. Once the summer ends with my job, I can then get back on an upload schedule of videos and get back to work on some video projects. But for the summertime, it's just keeping me way too jam-packed, and it's a mess. So it's a lot harder for me to do video content in that regard. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like before you guys head out. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. All that fun stuff. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.